Headlines and hot takes, they have their place. But at our podcast, ESPN Daily, we don't just skim the surface of sports. Dude, I mean, this clearly transcends blood feuds, rivalries, sports. This is something far, far deeper than that. I'm your host, Pablo Torre, and every day, we try to dive into the stories behind the athletes.
The picture of him in the dugout afterwards just looked like a guy who'd had his heart ripped out.
Listen to ESPN Daily wherever you get your podcasts.
We can sum up McDonald's new crispy chicken sandwich in one word: crispy. But also juicy and tender. Maybe crispy, juicy, tender, all one word? Okay, fine. You'll just have to try our crispy chicken sandwich to understand it.
Get a free medium fries and medium soft drink with purchase of any crispy chicken sandwich. Available only on the app. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Price and participation may vary. McDonald's app download and registration required.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Yo, 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 what up? This is Rocky Asuka Romero of Chaos, and you are listening to Keepin It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the ace of podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the ace of podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll be reviewing Resurgence, the conclusion of the Super Junior Tag League, answering listener questions, and covering all latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network or Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts and columns over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, ProWrestlingTees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate, clicking the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. This week's episode is brought to you by the NJPW EXT, the only browser extension for NJPWWorld.com, with features like dark mode, improved translations and layouts, custom and shared playlists, synchronized viewing parties, and much, much more. It takes NJPW World to the next level. You can visit njpwext.us today for details. Young boy, how you doing, man?
What's up? I said, what's up?
You're in an R-Truth mood today.
You can get with this, or you can get with that. Better get with this, because this is where it's at. What's up?
What's up?
Dude, I don't think in all the years of travel that we've done together, I have been as zapped for energy or wiped out post-trip as I have for this Resurgence show. And I think most of it has to do with the time lapse, the jet lag, even though it's just 3 hours, but also the fucking travel that we did, man. Like, that was a crazy travel schedule. Like, whole days of traveling. Like, it sucked.
Felt like we were, traveling the territories, going town to town.
Yeah, bro. It made me think, like, do I really want to be a wrestler? What's funny is, like, I've taken some pretty horrendous bumps and done some crazy, classes and drills and camps and stuff. And I've never been, like, afterwards hurting, thinking, like, I don't know if I should be doing this. But, like, thinking about traveling like that, like, damn, dog, I don't know if I want to ride in a plane this many hours. Like, this sucks.
Yeah, man, we had some long flights from Tampa. We stopped off in Phoenix, and from Phoenix to California. Then, we're there for 2 days and right back on a plane from Phoenix for California, Phoenix to Tampa.
Yo, that Phoenix airport, let me tell you, some of the worst airport food I've ever experienced. Like, you come to the airport in Tampa, like, we got like La Colombia, like a 5-star restaurant just chilling there. Like, there's all sorts of great like restaurants and stuff. We went there. We tried twice on 2 different occasions. We tried 2 different restaurants. We were like, maybe this one will be good. Nah. And then another one, we're like, oh, that sounds good. Nah, that was weak.
Yeah, it was not the best food, and it was, of course, very expensive.
Yeah, and then Southwest, man, those seats, bro, it was just so tight. Like, I'm so tired. I literally slept 10 hours today. I slept full 8 hours and change, which is rare for me last night. And then 2 1-hour naps today. Try to like break this, fatigue. But man, I'm feeling it.
Yeah, not to mention, our flight was super delayed on the way back home. Our flight got delayed like 2-3 hours from when it was supposed to take off.
Yeah. And then, you couple that with like getting to the car, travel home. I mean, I didn't get home till like 4 o'clock. And then at that point I was so like ramped up, like I didn't fall asleep till like 5 in the morning. Like, I was supposed to go into work the next day. I like hit up my boss. I'm like, yeah, that's gonna be a no for me.
Yeah, I was ahead. I already had taken Monday off. I knew that regardless of what time I got in, there was no way I was gonna want to work the next day. And
then I went in today, but I might as well not have, because I was there in physical form, but mentally I was completely checked out.
Oh man. But yeah, man, we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about our trip and Resurgence. Also, for you listeners,
I'm not pulling any punches either. I'm going to tell you guys the unadulterated truth.
But real quick, for you listeners, by the time you're hearing this, it's probably going to be Wednesday, and it's my birthday, 32 years old. So,
oh my gosh, happy birthday to the boss of the Social Suplex Podcast Network, one half of the ace of podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style, Jeremy Donovan. He is all elite wrestling.
So 18th is my shoot birthday. I know some of you probably saw my sign and face on Dynamite a couple weeks ago. That was a early kayfabe birthday from my girlfriend. So 18th, shoot birthday, 32. Show some love. Drop us some ratings, some reviews, a donation if you can. And yeah, appreciate you guys.
Yeah, send me some money in honor of Jeremy Donovan's birthday. My PayPal is Joshua_Smith_101.
In the 4 message put for Jeremy's birthday, Josh will definitely make sure to get it to me.
I want to talk more about your birthday, but while you're on the subject, so today I got a letter in the mail that was from like this agency where they try to collect money, not collect money from me, collect money for me.
Oh,
apparently when sometimes you might work. I've had like a million jobs and I've moved a million times.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes when a company owes you money and they can't locate you, they can't track you down or find you, they'll hold on to the money for like 3 to 5 years. And then after a certain period of time, they relinquish it. And instead of looking for you, they just send it to the state. And then either you claim that or it reverts to ownership of the state. And I got this letter and they're like, oh, we'll help you get this money back that's owed to you. And like, it was from a business I used to work for. And it's a lot of money. And I was like, what in the world?
Yeah.
And they're like, for only 16% of the profits, we will do everything for you. I was like, no. And then I went and I looked it up. I found like the state of Florida website and I looked it up. Bro, I had 3 checks that were owed. 3 commission checks for when I worked at Ashley Furniture. So I got like $450 coming my way, like out of nowhere. So
nice, hit the pay window.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to use any of that on your birthday, but happy birthday, bro. Are you no? But in all seriousness, any plans with the family, the girlfriend? This weekend, SummerSlam weekend, what are we doing?
Yeah, SummerSlam weekend. You threw an offer out. I think I'm down to watch. My brother's also getting married on Saturday, but it's Saturday morning. All the festivities, I think, should be done by Saturday night, so I would be down to watch SummerSlam with the guys.
Nice. Well, maybe we'll need to get a Publix cake. We'll get the kind I like, but it'll say happy birthday to you.
We'll get the cake you like. We'll get the beer you like. The coffee gimmick, the cream and sugar.
Yeah, we'll get the cream and sugar coffee.
I actually like that beer, but
it's incredible beer.
We'll get you some of those dark stout, fancy gimmick beers you like.
Yeah,
it'll be a theme birthday for you, but for me,
it's gonna be a Tanahashi and Ishii themed birthday party. Happy birthday, Jeremy.
Oh, man. But, man, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Before we jump into Resurgence, I think we got to talk about Strong real quick. So, technically, that Strong happened before Resurgence, and there were some storyline things that played into Resurgence. So, this was Road to Summer Struggle. Strong, episode 53, opened up with Barrett Brown coming out with Bateman and Mysterioso. So, somehow, randomly, I know Mysterioso and Jordan Clearwater have been having issues, but out of nowhere, Mysterioso just is now full heel in the all black, looking like a demonic Flamita, and he is now with Barrett Brown and Bateman, and they helped Barrett Brown defeat best friends Wheeler Utah 7 minutes 29 seconds. Then the second match we had,
and it's funny that you say best friends because you mean best friends because he's part of the stable best friends.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I thought that was like you accidentally said that, and I was like, oh, funny enough.
Then second match we had the young gun, the Bullet Club, Hikuleo. He defeats the Savage Weight Freddie A. High, 9 minutes 31 seconds. Then post match, Hikuleo, asking for competition, and Juice Robinson comes out, answers the call, tells the matchmakers to make the match, and then we find out that this match got booked for Resurgence. So last minute addition to the card.
Yeah, Hikuleo was like, I've run through everybody. I want a challenge. And Juice was like, I want to wrestle on the card and get paid. So that works out perfectly for me.
Yeah. Then the main event, we had Carl Fredericks and the man of the hour, Leo Rush, defeat the Filthy team of Danny Limelight and Filthy Tom Lawler, 12 minutes, 18 seconds. Fun, fast-paced main event here. Leo Rush hits the Rush Hour on Danny Limelight to get the win here, pick up some momentum, and then it was announced on New Japan social media that Leo Rush would be challenging Filthy Tom Lawler for the Strong title at Monday's Fighting Spirit Unleashed Strong TV tapings.
And they drew that sold-out crowd on a one-day notice.
Thank Leo Rush for the house.
Yeah, thank you, Leo.
And then a bit of news that we got as we were in California getting ready for Resurgence. Brody King was pulled from the Resurgence card. They said due to unforeseen circumstances, Brody King will be unable to compete at Resurgence. We apologize to fans who are looking forward to seeing King wrestle and appreciate your understanding. So Brody not at Resurgence, not at the Strong TV tapings. He was replaced by Adrian Quest, and then Jordan Clearwater filled in for Adrian Quest in the pre-show dark match.
He, like you mentioned, he said in his social media that he's okay. So we don't know the circumstances surrounding it, what it is. I've heard some people speculate, say it was some sort of political issue, not like politics, but
like Ring of Honor,
possibly. I don't know. And then others who speculated possibly it's health related or personal. We don't really know one way or the other. Obviously, I would have liked to have seen Brody King compete, but I will say this: I thought it was a pleasant replacement with Adrian Quest because Young Fuego is a guy who has been grinding for Strong, and if we weren't able to see Brody King, I'm glad that the replacement was Adrian Quest, and we'll talk about that match, but he got a chance to shine there. Again, still would have loved to see Brody King, but I thought they did the best they could, provided the circumstances.
Yeah. So we got some questions here that we should talk about before we go into the match-by-match review. So first from friend of the show, Dan Coffin, he says, how did you like the venue for Resurgence? I thought it came across pretty nice on screen.
Yeah, I've heard some complaints about the layout of the show, the fact that they had the hard camera kind of pointed at the archways, and very few fans can fit inside that little area between the archways, so it kind of made the crowd seem minuscule. I don't know. I watched a few matches, and they kind of shuffle between different angles, and I think you see a good portion of the crowd. But I would agree that the layout might not be optimal for showing just how many people were actually there. That's something that like AEW and like WWE are really good at, is even Ring of Honor sometimes reconfiguring a crowd to make it look like there's more people there than there actually is. And in this case, they sold out the full configuration and they didn't maximize that,
Right. Definitely could have. I did rewatch the whole show on New Japan World. I thought the venue looked great on camera. I love the shots where they had the torch and they would like pan down to the archway.
That was cool.
Really just a cool, outdoor venue. But like I agree, like as far as, showing the audience, I mean, over 2,000 people there, didn't do the best. There were some wide shots where you can kind of see there's a lot of people there, but for the most part, the action, how New Japan shoots, focus on the ring, so you really didn't see that full capacity throughout the show.
As far as the light, like the actual, let's be very clear what the LA Torch is. I think maybe me and Jeremy had some confusion leading into the show. We knew it was like a venue space that was outside of the LA Coliseum, but like what it basically is, just so everyone is very, very aware, it's literally just the outside, like lobby area outside of the LA Coliseum.
Yeah.
Like it's not like something that is configured with the stage setup that's always there and like permanent seating. It's nothing like that. It's probably on game day just the empty space that you walk out to go to concessions and go to the bathroom, literally.
Yeah.
Which I do got to say this. I was listening to Observer and I heard Dave Meltzer complain about New Japan calling this a sellout, because he was like, they could have done 10,000 seats in that venue, up to set, so them calling it a sellout, is not real. Let me be very clear here. This is not a place that has 10,000 seats where 8,000 needed to be tarped off and the other 2 were sold out. This is literally a lobby, an empty lobby that is just space.
Yeah, like an outdoor like courtyard kind of gimmick.
It's a courtyard. That's not a lobby. I kept saying lobby. Yeah, it's the courtyard. It's just the outdoor courtyard. So like, yeah, they put X amount of chairs out there and then sold those off. That's a sellout. I would agree with him if, like, for instance, hypothetically, there was 10,000 seats and they had to tarp off a big section, but this is not an actual venue. It literally is just a courtyard. That'd be like complaining that someone was in a field and sold out 500 seats and be like, yeah, but that field is vast. They could have put 20,000 seats on that field. That's not the logic doesn't hold up. I don't think maybe he's even aware that It's not really a real venue. But as far as the looks of it, with the lighting, and then I thought it was really cool how they had those 2 little posts and they put the New Japan, the red and blue banner.
Yeah, that's dope.
I thought that they made it look like way more than it actually was, because when you walked up to it, it didn't look that inspiring. Yeah, I mean, it was cool, but it was like, man, this is it. And then the lights came down and the ambiance lights and the torch set up, and it was awesome.
Yeah, I will say I like this better than the G1 Dallas setup as far as like aesthetics.
Yeah, as far as aesthetics, I mean, keep in mind too, we've never been to an outdoor New Japan show before in the States, well, anywhere. So it also had that kind of going for it.
Yeah. So next question here from our user Germanus. He says, I watched Resurgence on NJPW World. I'll tell you what, production values were superb. I couldn't hear subpar. Misread that.
Normally I wouldn't correct you, but those are completely different meanings.
Yeah, misread that there. Subpar. Couldn't hear the crowd much. Since you were there, who did the crowd pop big for? Any surprises for you two on crowd reaction, either more over or less over than you would have thought?
That's a really great question. I'll tell you this much. I didn't watch the whole show. I've seen one match, and I would agree. I thought that they did not do a very good job miking the crowd. It is difficult, though, in an outdoor setting. where the sound just kind of goes up. And the way that they configured us, everyone was ground level. There wasn't any bad seats, so it's not like you couldn't see, but at the same time, there wasn't like, bleachers where people kind of go up. So everything's ground level. So it was really kind of hard to pick up on the sound. I'll say this, from the section that we sat in, that's probably a good thing, because I think we were sort of under the impression that this was going to be like most of the other New Japan shows we've been to in the past, like a fly-in crowd.
Yeah.
Especially since they sold out so many tickets like right away. I was like, oh, there's a lot of people that want to come into town to experience the first big show. Well, it turns out like, no, the fly-in crowd was like me, Chris Hamsa, Jeremy,
Karen and Karen.
Like that was it. Like almost everybody there was local. And the section that we were sat in, thank you, New Japan, for accommodating us and credentialing us. But the section that we sat in we were surrounded by like your hardcore, like North American typical wrestling fans. It was all local SoCal people. So they're like WWE chants, AEW chants, Impact chants, all sorts of. It was Bizarro World. Like this was like no New Japan U.S. crowd I've ever been a part of.
Right, and you had that mix, also a mix of Bullet Club fans, like die-hard Bullet Club fans that just, love the Bullet Club and nothing else about New Japan.
One thing I noticed, the contingency of more die-hard New Japan fans, like what I'd call probably like more prolific, standard watchers, those tended to be the people in the first sections around the ring that were more expensive. They're willing to spend that money. And the fans that were more problematic with the negative chants and the kind of negative energy tended to be those that spent less money that were in the back.
Right.
Did you notice that?
Yeah. So,
and we were kind of sat in between those two crowds. So, like, we kind of hear both of them simultaneously. But what really surprised me is how most guys that you would consider your typical New Japan stars or everyday like strong guys did not tend to garner much reaction initially upon their coming out and everything like that. Some of them got more over as the match went on, but anybody that was either a former WWE guy, a current AEW star, or an Impact guy, those guys tended to just get the biggest, most positive reactions of the night.
Yeah, obviously John Moxley got a huge reaction. There was some chants for Fred Rosser. Leo Rush got a huge reaction.
Wheeler Yuta got a really big reaction, bigger than anyone else in the match that he was with, which like
that AEW pop.
Yeah, and you consider the guys that he wrestled with, most of them on Strong are booked higher on the card than him, so I was a little surprised by that. The Good Brothers, really big.
Good Brothers, monstrous pop for them. Jay White, surprisingly super over. And I mean, if you think about
that one's not super surprising, but you're probably gonna make the same point I'm about to say. So
yeah, also the Jay White Dave Finlay match was the first match announced. Majority of the tickets sold in that match. So I know Jay always says that he sold out Madison Square Garden, but he essentially you could say he sold this show out, because for the majority of the time when tickets were on sale, the Jay White Finlay match was the match that was the featured main event. But he came out, huge reaction from the Bullet Club contingent, and people loved him. And he came out like too sweeting everybody, like he was big like baby face coming back home.
Yeah, it's not quite the same thing, but it was almost like Bret Hart in Calgary, at the Canadian Stampede. Like I was like, we're in Bizarro World. Like the fans just lost their minds for him, and
Moose.
Moose was really, really, really over. I watched that match, and you can't really hear it through the audio. But, there's nothing wrong with those guys being over and getting good reactions. That wasn't really my complaint. My complaint was the negative type of just crowd chants, a lot of Rusev days every single time. What's Aiden English's new name?
Matt Morris.
Every time Matt Morris showed up on the screen, just Rusev Day, like all over the place. And I'm like, guys, like that. It's been so many years, and that guy's name's not even Rusev, and he's in a totally different company. And like, I'm pretty sure Aiden English is not playing that character. Like,
Right, he's doing the whole like Drama King gimmick now.
I don't know what he's doing because I haven't seen him yet, but like a lot of Adam Cole baby all night, Adam Cole baby chants, which like I was like, dude, what is going on?
Yeah, when Moxley was wrestling, there was small chants of "Let's go Ambrose." Like,
yeah, and that was funny too because there was Hideo Itami chants at the G1 in Dallas from a very small group of people, and like the crowd shut them down, you know. But here, this was a pretty like casual New Japan audience. Archer, super over. Archer was as over or more over than Tanahashi was. When Jay White won his match, like a large portion of the crowd just walked out of the show and didn't stay for the main event. That's another like key indicator of like the overness of Jay White, but also that like those fans might just be Bullet Club fans.
Right. Exactly.
It was weird. I've never thought of that sort of thing, you know? What were some other really bad chants? During the Archer match, there was like tramp stamp chants.
Yeah, for Archer, yeah. And then during the Team Filthy 10-man, there was like Daisy Dukes and Booty Shorts chants.
Booty Shorts.
For Tom Lawler.
Yeah, just a lot of like, there's AEW chants.
Yeah, there were people in the crowd who didn't understand who Yumura was and who Shibata was and the whole like dojo thing.
Or who like Ishii was, or like when during the main event, Tanahashi gets ready to play air guitar and like a bunch of people from the crowd just completely just stormed off mad. They were angry. I was blown by that. Like, you compare that to like the G1 in Dallas, that moment when him and Okada are standing and the entire crowd is just going ape shit, and like it's so incredible. And then and then this moment where like Tanahashi's gonna play the air guitar and like people are so mad that Lance Archer from AEW didn't keep his belt.
Right.
Oh, Yuji Nagata got no pop.
Yeah, I mean, I also when I watched it back, I mean, there was some pop. Again, like, we were on like that kind of weird side of the crowd. The right side of the crowd opposite us seemed to be
that might be part of it too.
More of more of a diehard New Japan kind of base on that right side, but.
Well, I thought about that, but also we don't really know because it was hard to hear what was going on that side of the audience as well, too. So,
but still, yeah, if you would have thought, surprised Yuji Nagata would have got a bigger pop than he did get.
Yeah, and I heard some people complain about it. I'm like, guys, it could have been so much worse, I was glad it was Nagata and not Sami Callihan.
Yeah, so was I. So, yeah, I was happy about that.
I was legit getting mad at the crowd. Like, my girlfriend was listening to some of Jeremy's stories, and she, like, heard my voice where I was like, these people fucking suck. She's like, that's mean. I was like, you have no idea how disrespectful this crowd literally. I was like, at least I didn't go for anybody. I didn't come for anybody's head. Like, you know. Oh, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was our experience. Like, I would say this was by far the worst New Japan audience that I've been a part of. But I think there's some positives to it. I think this was a chance to expose a lot of people who aren't as familiar with the product to it, Yeah. Even if they're not as educated on the product. So that's a good thing.
And David Finlay, that man got booed out the building.
Oh, that was bad. I've never been as embarrassed for someone as a performer to see that kind of, negative reception for them. It didn't come across as much on the broadcast, but like, I don't know. The one thing I can think of is like that time when John Cena got like when he had to wrestle RVD.
Yeah, that one night stand.
Yeah, but at least that crowd like was hostile, and he was getting heat. Like with Dave Finlay, it was almost apathy. Like not only did he get booed, but there's a lot of times where he just got no reaction.
Yeah, I would say a majority. It was like no reaction. Like he came out, his music played, like no reaction. Then Jay White gets this monstrous reaction, and then during the match, like everything was just for Jay.
Yes, yeah, very much so. So yeah, it was it was different, very, very, very different from what we were probably expecting and kind of used to. Plus, we'll talk about it, but there's a lot of weird stuff that went on during that show.
Yeah,
with the venue.
Yeah, we had fireworks going off. There was like a concert happening like inside the Coliseum.
I thought it was a band practice
or a band
or something.
or a private party or something.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, it was weird. Next question here from Sir Sam. He said, who got the biggest pop? Was there anything that happened that didn't get filmed? And is fried chicken for breakfast a normal thing in America? Because if that is incredible.
He's asking because he saw that we went to Chicken
Roscoe's,
Waffles?
yeah, and got chicken and waffles Saturday morning with Karen and Karen.
That's funny. I don't think there was anything that happened that didn't get filmed that I'm aware of.
Only the dark match, the pre-show dark match.
Oh, that's right. Okay. For me, easily the biggest pop of the night was Jay White.
Yeah, hands down, Jay White, biggest pop.
And probably Tanahashi and Archer were like close seconds. I think Archer might be number 2.
Yeah, I think I would say like Archer, Tanahashi, like a 2A, 2B kind of thing. But Archer did get like a monstrous reaction.
There wasn't anything that happened that didn't get filmed aside from the dark stuff. As far as chicken and waffles, like in America, I don't think fried chicken is like something. I don't think it's something that, like, generally speaking, it's considered an everyday staple of the standard American breakfast. However, chicken and waffles was one of those things. It's a Southern cooking sort of thing, and I do remember hearing about it growing up and like never having had it. But then at some point, it just kind of caught on, and in most diners and most like trendy like gastropubs and like restaurants, you can get chicken and waffles for breakfast in most places now.
Yeah, it's almost like I feel like at one point it was kind of a rarity. Like, oh, you have to go seek out like a place that has chicken and waffles. And now it's pretty much like most breakfast places, like I said, most diners, like it's kind of like a normal thing now. Like it's not a rare kind of weird thing. Like, oh, I have to try it. I mean, it's amazing, but now it's like you can pretty much get it anywhere around here.
And so we went and we had Roscoe's, and it was good. But it has this really legendary reputation. I think part of it too is like when you go there, it's an experience. There's certain particular type of attitude and ambiance to that place. But like I've had chicken and waffles so many times in my life now at so many different places where like I could easily say that was not the best chicken and waffles I've ever had. Yeah, it was very good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. Maybe 3.75 maybe.
Yeah, it was like a good little chicken and waffles, 3.75. But for the price, I mean, I don't know. We split a plate, but it was like $24. Like I would never pay $24 for chicken and waffles in Florida for anywhere.
Yeah. No matter how good.
That was nuts.
Yeah.
And I've had much better chicken and waffles lots of places, so that was a little surprising.
Yeah. And last question here before we jump into the match by match review from Muzza. He says, besides Resurgence, what was your favorite thing you did in LA?
Probably, we'll probably have the same answer. We got to hang out with Chris Samsa in real life, which we've never done before. And Chris, really cool guy. And the Friday night we got in, we went to recommended Korean barbecue place in Koreatown called Parks Barbecue. And guys, we had an epic meal. Like it was incredible.
It was amazing.
It was so good.
Like you said at dinner, we felt like we were in an anime. Like they brought all these bowls. There was all this meat. They're cooking the meat in front of us, and man, it was just good stuff.
Yeah, it was really. We could talk more about it if you go there to LA, Parks Barbecue, one of the best meals I've ever had. I've had Korean barbecue in South Korea before, and this was as good or better probably. Like so, yeah, I was blown away.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like you mentioned, hanging out with Chris that night, getting dinner there, and chatting it up. That was awesome. And then another great part of that, post dinner, we're like, still kind of early. What we want to do? I'm like, man, let's go to the dojo. And Sam's was like, how far away is it? I'm like, it's like 25 minutes. He's like, let's do it. So we hop in with Samson. We head down to the LA dojo.
We found a really good brewery too. What was that place called? River?
Angel City.
Angel City Brewery. That place was it was adjacent or in Little Tokyo. Little Tokyo, that's a part of LA that's really cool.
Especially if you're a big anime or video game fan, a lot of cool stuff there.
That stuff too, but they also had like great bakeries and desserts and, tea houses and bookstores. There was incredible like laser discs and LPs and albums. It was a really cool place.
Yeah. Also, have to give a shout out to Esteban of the unofficial New Japan North American fan club. He hosted several meetups throughout the weekend. We went to lunch with one of the meetups for Fogo de Chao, covered by the fan club. Esteban pours a lot of time and effort into the fan club, and so got some nice little lunch there.
Yep. So let's move on and talk about the actual show.
Yep. So Resurgence, like we mentioned, kicked off. We had a pre-show dark match. We had that new unit of Barrett Brown, Mysterioso, and Bateman. They defeated Jordan Clearwater, Kevin Knight in the DKC, 9 minutes and 32 seconds. I didn't get to see all this match because I was in line getting some merch, but when I got back, it was your kind of typical standard opener. Thought all the guys looked good and, moved things along.
Yeah, I thought it was a good six-man tag. I don't have much to add there. I'm very impressed with Bateman and Mysterioso. Jordan Clearwater got a haircut, so that's good. And Kevin Knight and DKC are doing their thing. Very promising young line. So good dark match opener.
Yeah. So then the main card opens up with the next match in the Alex Coughlin Challenge Match Series as Carl Fredericks defeats Alex Coughlin 10 minutes and 48 seconds.
Yeah, this was really, really great. And this would probably be, for me, like my sleeper pick for underrated match of the night. I haven't heard too much from anybody talking about just how impressive this match was. But these guys, LA Dojo guys, when they go toe-to-toe, they really, really go at it. And like, Coughlin was striking the crap out of Carl Fredericks.
They were both hitting pretty hard.
They were hitting so hard. But these guys, they've trained together extensively. So the timing, the pace, the energy, it's all on point. This reminded me a lot of the singles match that we got between Carl Fredericks and Clark Connors just before Clark went, kind of graduated from the dojo, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And this was kind of on that same level. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a very strong opener. If there was anyone in the crowd that wasn't as familiar with these guys, which it did seem to some extent like the crowd wasn't as familiar, but I think that this is one of those matches that started off with little reception, but by the end of it, they really had gained the crowd and got them behind them. So this was a perfect choice for the opener, and it kind of continues Coughlin's progression. And, Carl Fredericks beat him with the Manifest Destiny, and, I thought this match ruled.
Yeah, I love this match. It was a great way to kick off the show. Like you mentioned, there weren't really many, Fredericks or Coughlin chants. People were kind of unfamiliar. Like, the non-New Japan fan base was unfamiliar. But, yeah, by the end of the match, they had the people hard-hitting. I mean, there was a lariat that Coughlin did to Fredericks, which just...
Oh, yeah, you just saw the mist go up.
Yeah, the mist of sweat, and that was awesome. Yeah, very hard-hitting. A lot of great counters, like you mentioned. The Alpha Wolf hits the Manifest Destiny, gets a win there, shows some respect to Coughlin post-match. Then we move into the second match where we had the Wild Rhino, Clark Connors, Red Narita, and TJP defeating the team of Mr. No Days Off, Fred Rosser, Rocky Romero, and Wheeler Utah, 11 minutes and 19 seconds.
Yeah, I was a little surprised here. This was a match that I definitely anticipated Rosser and Rocky Romero winning, just because of the fact that they've sort of have this new budding friendship and partnership. It seemed like on Strong. I don't know if that's going to be the case going forward.
Right. And also, as far as reactions, I thought Rocky got a pretty good reaction.
Rocky did get one of the biggest reactions. And you know what? If you think about it, with him appearing on so many different shows in recent memory, plus, it's kind of understood who he is in the annals of New Japan, as well as, his role with Strong. And then also the notoriety that he gets from, Boozing with the Boys and Talkin' Shop Mania. I think a lot of that goes kind of into that as well.
Right. Yeah, definitely. We mentioned that diehard Bullet Club fan base, a lot of big Good Brother fans. So, yeah, Rocky definitely probably receives a lot of, But
it's mind-boggling, bro. They love the Good Brothers.
Yeah, a lot of sour boy chants for Luke or for Carl Anderson. So yeah, definitely they're.
Yeah, I didn't even know what the fuck they were talking about. There were so many sour boy chants. I'm like, what? Who is that?
But this was a very good match here too. Also, a lot of the focus on Ren Narita and Fred Rosser. These guys have been feuding for a couple of weeks on Strong Now. So a lot of intensity. Man, Fred Rosser. I know we kind of joke about him sometimes, but this guy just continues to improve, get better. Very hard hitting, very snug, fired up.
He was so snug on that night.
Yeah,
like crazy. Also surprised at the outcome because of the fact that Clark Connors and TJP have sort of always had a little bit of animosity and miscommunication in their match as well. And I think we thought that kind of story would continue to play out here, and it didn't really play that way. There's going to be events that we'll talk about later in the night that sort of make sense as to why this team picked up the victory here.
Right.
But I was a little surprised to see this LA Dojo team win.
Right. I mean, on the other side, you have a former WWE guy, you have Rocky, and then you have the AEW guy.
Yeah, but on the other side, you got a former WWE guy. TJP doesn't do the dab anymore, I noticed.
he's left that in the past.
Oh, back in 2015?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, and you know what? Like, I still want to see this Narita-Fred Rosser match, but we didn't get as many interactions between them in this, limited 11-minute match as I would have liked. But it's still, after the match, they were still going at it. There's still heat there, so that looks to be like something that's probably going to be on the tapings.
Yeah. So then we move on to the next matchup, big 10-man tag. We have the team of Adrian Quest, Chris Dickinson, Freddie Yehai, Leo Rush, and Yuya Mora, defeating the Team Filthy team of Danny Limelight, Jarrell Nelson, J.R. Kratos, Royce Isaacs, and the strong champion Filthy Tom Waller, 13 minutes and 1 second.
Yeah, 13 minutes. This match was really good. There was a lot of guys here that the crowd was unfamiliar with, and a lot of just high-octane, high-paced action. By the end of it, it seemed like the crowd, again, had gotten to know and recognize who a lot of these guys were. Tom Lawler was getting those, booty shorts and Daisy Dukes chants like we mentioned, and this guy is such a pro. He turned that moment into a moment where he started strutting around,
yeah,
and then they turn it into a group pose off, and
Ginyu Force pose.
Yeah, like a Ginyu Force pose. They completely broke that chant and got the crowd to just get heat on them. And this is a guy that really understands the psychology of working a crowd. I think a lot more than most other U.S. based wrestlers.
Yeah. But yeah, like you mentioned, Leo Rush is probably the most over person in this match, and Leo looked great in this match. A lot of great spots.
Wait a second. Leo Rush is over? It's almost as if I've been saying for a little while that he's one of the most well-recognized names on the Strong roster. That's crazy that the live audience knows who Leo Rush is and is super behind him.
Yeah,
man, that's crazy.
There's some people we talk to who don't realize what big of a star Leo Rush is. But
it's almost like the challenge isn't the biggest show in America.
Right. But yeah, Leo was awesome here. He's just super quick, a lot of great spots. Good spot where J.R. Kratos Adrian Quest did a Asai moonsault to the outside. It was pretty dope.
I loved that he got that moment to sort of shine because he wasn't even supposed to be in this match.
yeah, he was going all out. He was doing a lot, did a tornillo. He did a lot of cool spots. Then J.R. Kratos he press slammed. Who did he press slam into the outside?
I don't remember. I just remember there was a moment where he teased he was gonna go to the top rope and dive on the crowd, and that didn't end up happening. He ended up getting powerbombed.
Yeah.
But yeah, he pressed somebody. I don't know who it was. I was really impressed. There was a point. One thing I love that he does is he gets in the half guard on guys and does the short elbows and then the big knees, and he works like a ground and pound MMA sort of style. Yeah. Which is you don't see other people do that, and I think that's kind of dope. Dickinson was awesome in this match.
Yeah, Dickinson was super fired up. Him and Filthy Tom had some great exchanges in their match.
Yeah, their chain wrestling was good. The strikes were really good. It was very reminiscent of the strong title match that they had earlier this year. We try to get a Dirty Daddy chant going, but like this crowd in particular, I don't think is as familiar with Chris, which is not great. But also with him, he's a guy that exudes the fact that he's a star, and so I think as more people get to see him and become aware of him, like the more he's going to get over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Because I mean, he looked like a star out of all these guys. I felt like he had like the most like star appeal. You know?
Yeah, definitely. It was Lio Rush was who he pressed into the.
That's right. I was a little surprised by that too, considering that Leo's like, about to challenge for the title. They definitely made him look good in this match, but to see Jared Kratos kind of muscle him like that, I was like, dang.
Yeah, especially somebody coming off a shoulder injury who's already kind of leery about continuing to wrestle. Kind of a little dangerous spot there, but took it and he's fine. Dane Limelight always looks great. He had a lot of cool spots, a lot of cool high-flying stuff.
Funny spots too.
Yeah, he's
like when he started when the ring was empty, he started doing the salsa dancing.
Dude, I gotta give that man props. That man can like salsa dance to anything. No music, he salsa dances to like Filthy Tom's music. Any kind of music, this man could find a way to salsa dance to it. But it came down to him and Yuya Uemura, the two legal men. He was getting ready to hit his double springboard cutter on Uemura. Lio Rush came in, pushed Yuya out the way. He hit the Rush Hour on Dane Limelight, and then Uemura hits that double overhook belly to belly suplex, gets the bridge. 1, 2, 3. Yuya Uemura picks up his first win on Excursion here in the U.S.
Here's the thing: is like we kind of know the story with Yuya Uemura and that move. It's sort of like if he can keep both arms trapped and he can get the bridge, he can beat anybody with it. That's kind of been the story, but like he never really does. And I feel like there have been a time or two where we've seen him actually hit it on a big star and they still kicked out, like in Super Juniors and stuff like that. So when he hit it, even though I know he's on Excursion, he's still a lion on Excursion. I was kind of anticipating them to kick out. And when he got the 1, 2, 3, dude, we lost our minds.
Yes, dude. Me, Young Boy, and Chris Sampson, we were hopping around like you had just won the IWGP World Heavyweight title. We were so psyched, so pumped up for this man. We've been watching this man from the start, and to see him come here to the U.S., look great, and get this big moment, get a chance to shine. That they're building Lio Rush and Filthy Tom. So I thought, Lio Rush is either going to pin somebody or pin Lawler or something like that to, help build momentum for that match. But no, they went with Uemura here.
Or even like Lawler screwing, the other team and getting a win somehow and building heat and animosity. But yeah, this was really, really, really cool. It was funny. There was a guy behind us. I hate to call him out, but there's a guy behind us who had no clue what was going on. He was there with maybe his daughter, maybe his like sugar baby. I don't know what the deal was. It was kind of ambiguous, but
we won't judge.
We won't judge. But this man was older, is all I'm saying. And he was talking about Big John Studd and Ox Baker. And he had no clue what was going on. And he kept calling any kind of pin that wasn't your standard like cradle. He was calling them small packages, man. And he was like, Yuya Uemura hits him with the bridge. And he's like, oh, freaking small package. You got to be kidding me. Never mind that a small package is a perfectly like fine way to like win a title. Like I've seen plenty of world titles changed off small packages.
Send that man, Daniel Bryan's ROH run when he was the master of the small package.
You mean Bryan Danielson, sir?
Yeah, it's gonna take me a while to get that straight again.
But it was funny because like he had no clue what was going on, and we're freaking out. So after the match is over, Yuya Uemura gets the mic, and he's like, "I'm Yuya Uemura. I've come to the U.S. to get stronger, and I will get stronger." And then like Shibata comes out, and the crowd loses their mind. Everyone's chanting, "Holy shit!" And he grabs the mic and he says, "Come with me." Hands off that LA Dojo shirt, and like it's a really special moment. This guy behind us is like, I don't know what's going on. That guy in the black tights that I thought was boring, everyone seems to really like him. He got the win. I don't know. I guess it's a big deal or something. some guy that looks like his dad came out and handed him a shirt. I don't know what's going on. Can someone explain to me why this matters? And I thought for like a half second, maybe I would try to engage, but I was just like, how do I explain who Shibata is, what the LA Dojo is, what a lion is, what is happening? Like, I was like, I just can't. I can't explain to you.
Yeah, you would have spent the rest of the show explaining what was happening.
And I just thought, nah, I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to enjoy the show that I'm here to cover and not spend my time trying to educate you. There's Google.
But yeah, great post-match moment there. Very surprised Shibata showing up, officially, welcoming in Yamura into the LA Dojo to get stronger. We got a question here from Hawaiian Punch BV. Says, Yamura, a future main eventer? He got the pinfall in his first excursion match over an established veterans and joined Shibata's boy squad after.
Yeah, I mean, what's the question?
He's asking if Yamura is a future main eventer.
No, that's rhetorical. That's not a question. We all know that man is a future main eventer. This man's getting the Okada treatment. You know what I mean? Like, big send-off on his way out, against the ace of the company. Big win in a big match on a big show in his first excursion match in the U.S. Obviously, they really, really care about this guy and have big plans for him.
Another big sign, not giving away results here, but on the Strong tapings, he is in a 6-man with Tanahashi and Nagata as his partners.
Oh, wow.
So,
Jeremy, you're privy to what happened on the tapings.
I am. Our pal Chris Samsa tweeted out a non-spoiler-free list of the matches.
Oh, gotcha. Well, I won't go into all that.
But yeah, I mean, teaming with the Ace, teaming with Nagata, teaming with 2 former IWGP champions, clearly there's some big things in the future for this guy.
Totally agree. MJ Does PR said, please put some respect on Chris Dickinson's 1993 Boss Rutan aesthetic, which, you know what, now that he says it, maybe that's one of the big reasons. I mean, obviously I'm really into Chris Dickinson, but maybe that's part of it, like, because I'm such a big Boss Rutan fan. Maybe that's why I like Chris Dickinson so much. He also said, what's behind Yamura joining the LA Dojo? Is Strong the prep school for stars? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, what seems like, all the dojos that are coming to excursion in LA, I mean, you have to train somewhere, so you go to the LA Dojo, and we saw, Narita, he came over and he's at the dojo, and obviously we already have like the LA Dojo guys, and, Gabriel Kidd, Clark Connors, Carl Fredericks, DKC, Kevin Knight. We've seen all these guys come up from the dojo, and I think, Shibata's doing an excellent job, training these guys and getting these, making these guys, ready to be, New Japan stars, and so I think,
and you know what else too? On that night, there was like 5 or 6 guys that were fulfilling the role of like young lions. And in the past, when they've done U.S. shows, they've had guys like Brody King and other like SoCal based guys that are like kind of known now. Got a lot of them that are like on Strong, that you don't think of as like LA Dojo guys, quote unquote, but clearly have trained in that dojo. But this time they didn't have anything like that. They had like nameless, gigantic, big, strong, athletic looking dudes behind masks that were fulfilling the role of like young lions. It could be that those are just extras, just guys that are indie talents in the local area that just came and, are helping out. But I've got the feeling, based on the builds of those guys, the muscular frames and everything, those guys are probably training in that dojo already and just haven't graduated to quote unquote lion debut status.
Right. Yeah, we don't know who's training in the LA Dojo. I mean, there could be 9 guys there too, and some of those guys at ringside are probably some of those guys.
Yeah. So very interesting. 5th match of the night, Juice Robinson defeats the giant Hikuleo. Bullet Club, 9 minutes.
Yeah, this is probably the worst match of the card. Juice did get a good reaction. Hikuleo got a great reaction, obviously being part of the Bullet Club, and I'm sure that AEW TV time against Lance Archer and those 2 matches on Dark probably helped as well.
Bro, that's one thing, you got to speak for, people can say what they want about the Forbidden Door and everything like that. But like, dude, hearing the kind of Hikuleo got a
huge reaction. Yeah.
Reaction. And I know it wasn't because of Strong. And it seems to me that sending those guys to major cable television like AEW has a huge impact on how they're perceived amongst wrestling fans.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely got that kind of star appeal there. And yeah, this was fine match.
This is the weakest match of the night.
Yeah, weak match. It was fine.
It started bad. It got good at the end, is what I would say.
Yeah, there was one point there where like Juice slipped off. He was trying to get on the turnbuckle, do a top rope move, and was slipping. Hikuleo, great kind of veteran move, ran out of the ropes and like crotched him on it.
Yeah, good improvisation. The finish of this match, though, Juice Robinson, he was supposed to counter something into like a roll-up.
Yeah.
But they messed it up, and he still got the roll-up, but like, and that kind of fits Juice's whole, aesthetic. He's said many times, like, I'll roll you up, brother.
Yeah, Hikuleo was going for that Samoan driver.
Yeah.
He's supposed to roll him from there.
So, Juice picks up the win here. I thought Hikuleo looked pretty good, but the match was, it was just a 9-minute, sort of like they didn't have an intermission, but if there was one, this was the 9-minute intermission match.
Yeah. And post-match, Hikuleo laid Juice out, so we might see this feud continue on.
Yeah, because obviously Juice picked up a roll-up victory, keeping Hikuleo sort of looking strong.
Actually, I do know this feud's continuing on. They will face off at the Strong tapings.
Jeremy, why are you telling everybody what's going to be on the Strong tapings?
Hey, I'm not spoiling any results. I'm just saying matches. I mean, you got to figure based off this finish that this match there's going to be a rematch.
Oh my God. Are we the news breaking account now?
I'm just saying these guys are going to have a match on Strong in the future.
After that, we had one of the most anticipated matches of the night, the Stone Pitbull Tomohiro Ishii defeating Moose 16 minutes and 7 seconds. And this match was maybe the match of the night, but definitely a really well-received and great match.
Yeah, I love this match. Ishii's a man, and this was, your typical Ishii versus a bigger guy formula, where obviously, Ishii, the way he wrestles, you would think he's the same size as Moose, but obviously, he's still selling it, and, he's fighting to get the brain buster, and there's certain power moves he's really fighting towards the beginning, and then he really has to fire up to, take the offense to Moose. But these guys lay the strikes in. Moose, super impressive of a lot of the athleticism that he had and the spots he was doing that, that crossbody off the top that he did. His pump kicks are great. His drop kicks. There was a spot where, he did the Okada drop kick where Ishii was sitting on the top rope and he jumped up, hit a drop kick, and followed up with this choke bomb that was awesome.
There was a lot that Moose did in this match that was very impressive. There's one moment where he jumped up to the top rope, springboarded onto the other side of the top rope, and turned around and did a crossbody, which is like, just for a guy his size, is so insane. I've seen him high fly a lot, but I've never seen him do that particular move. Keep in mind, I'm not the biggest, I'm not as familiar with all of Moose's body of work. Most of what I've seen from him, honestly, is from his ROH days, more so than anything else.
Yeah.
Haven't seen as much of the Impact work as other people have, but man, he looked like, he's always been impressive physically, but I've always seen him as kind of like a bruiserish, kind of puffy looking, like, I've always thought of his body type as very similar to like Rusev or Michael Elgin, guys of that kind of ilk. But he's really gotten himself into a different kind of shape now, and he's so cut up, man. Like, he looked like Lex Luger almost. Like, he's an Adonis, bro.
Yeah, man, that man was shredded. That man looks like he's a world champion.
And then all his drop kicks. He drop kicked Ishii when Ishii was sat on the top rope, and he kicked above his head that kind of vertical is really crazy.
Yeah, Moose is super impressive here. Very hard hitting. Obviously, a lot of great, forearm exchanges here. Ishii, best bumble selling out there.
Oh, and the basic gist of the story was, it's one that Ishii has done, especially on the road against larger opponents. So very similar to like the Chris Hero or the Walter or the Keith Lee matches in Rev Pro. But, you know, he's got a bigger guy and he's trying to take the bigger guy off of his feet. And then the whole match, he's trying to get the brainbuster and he just can't get it. And then at the very, very end, it's one of the most protected finishers in wrestling, finally does hit it and puts Moose away. And all the while, Moose is throwing everything, you know, even the kitchen sink at Ishii, and Ishii's not going away. And so it was kind of like this. The match is basically the story of the little engine that can and does.
Right. And, of course, I'll also fill it in with some, you know, great little, like, no-selling fighting spirit spots. You know, Ishii kicking out at 1, Moose kicking out at 0.
Oh, yeah, there was a guy behind us who
this man was going so freaking hard for Moose, man. It was so...
And normally, I wouldn't like someone who's going this hard for anybody because it was borderline obnoxious, but this guy was so funny.
Yeah, he was funny for the most of the night, but yeah, he was going...
He was really funny.
He was going so hard for Moose. I was so happy when Ishii dropped Moose on his head with that brainbuster and won.
When Ishii kicked out at 1, I was like, one count. And then I just kind of left it. And then Moose kicked out at 0, and this guy's like, no count. No count. And then when Ishii won, I turned around and we just high-fived because he was like, damn it, like my dude lost. Yeah. He's going so hard for him.
Awesome, Matt.
And it was funny the whole time. He's like, they don't know about you, Moose.
You my boy, Moose. Let him know who you are.
Let him know. It's so funny. Yo, I messed with that kid. Him and his girlfriend, they're sitting there before the show started. I'm just sitting down, and they're like, I wonder who Jon Moxley's, you know, tag team partner's going to be. And I turned around, I was like, it's Orange Cassidy. And they're like, oh, you think so? And I was like, I know so. I saw him. And they're like, what? And I had to tell him, no, I'm just playing.
Working.
But Ishii picks up the win here, and then, you know, we thought we were going into our next match tonight, and then suddenly...
we hear the music of one former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, the Kingpin, the Commonwealth Kingpin.
I didn't recognize it because I'm used to da-da-da-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
Like, started playing, I heard her hearing, and I was like, wait a minute. Like, that's Osprey music. I turned to you, I turned to Chris, I'm like, that's Osprey music. And the video plays, the Titantron video plays, and next thing you know, Will Ospreay comes walking down to the ring, black bag in his hand, dressed to the nines, you know, full suit, got chain, sunglasses on.
Yeah, I remember when he first took on this Commonwealth Kingpin persona, and I criticized the suit choices and the watch choices and how hokey they were. This was a far cry from that. This man looked like he should be like smuggling some coke out in like Miami. This man was dressed right for the role.
Yes, this man was looking fresh.
And he cut an awesome promo. He worked the crap out of the crowd. He was going in on Kevin Kelly. Not only was he cutting a great promo, which he doesn't usually do. Like, I don't think Will Ospreay is a very good promo, honestly.
No.
But on this night, he was on fire. And the other thing that was great about it was everything he said was true. And, you know, when you have a heel that, like, can work in, like, elements of reality to, like, kind of, like, you hate him, but you also hate that he's right. That's the other part of it, and like that was him all night that night.
Yeah, so he came out, said that he's medically cleared. He's like, you know, there's a big tournament coming up in Japan. G1, I will not be competing in the G1. And he talks about New Japan stripping him of the world title. He only needed 4 months to heal, and he does agree with having a fighting champion. But you look at Jon Moxley, who was the champ for over the year, didn't defend it, and they didn't strip him of the title.
And that's true. And he was also like, you know, the rule with New Japan is supposed to be 6 months, and they didn't give him the 6 months. They just stripped him. And then, you know, you want to talk about monstrous pops too. Like he got a huge ovation. But then he turned around and like said he doesn't give a crap about the fans, doesn't want to be in LA. So like that like completely just turned everything into heat immediately.
Right. And yeah, he's not going back to Japan. He's going to make New Japan Strong his home. He pulled out another IWGP World Heavyweight title, says he's the real world champion. Shingo is a interim champion, a fake champion, and that he's willing to defend his title, not just in New Japan, but at any door that leaves the key under the mat.
He complained about, New Japan and Shingo proclaiming him as the real champion when his belt is a fake belt and all his friends fighting him for his belt. So he's like almost acting like it's a conspiracy that like Shingo and all the guys he's fighting are his friends, and they've all, conspired to get the belt off Will because they can't beat Will is basically what he's implying. And then he's like, that the guy that's supposed to be champion, the guy I beat with a broken neck, and he called him a pussy. Yeah. and then Kevin Kelly's like, come on. And he's like, oh, shut up, Kevin.
Yeah, and then he's like, thank God it's a real star here, because if we had to rely on these, weak LA Dojo boys, this would be a horrible show. Especially the fragile Carl Fredericks in particular, and he's just burying, the LA Dojo.
Little Clark Connors.
Yeah.
And they come out, and he's like, look at these two bitches. Yeah. and then they have all the young lions kind of in between there. He's like, get between us, because if they come through, I maul up them. I'd take them out. I don't want to break them. And he almost sounds like Conor McGregor, the way he's talking, like a little bit. Like I feel like he must be studying Conor McGregor. He
probably is. And then out of nowhere, TJP comes out, and he's trying to keep the peace, hold back Fredericks and Connors, and he's like, look, this man was the original LA Dojo. He was trained by Antonio Inoki. Now he's a babysitter for Shibata's boys.
Yeah, and he talked about Shibata and said Shibata can't hold a candle to him, and he would break Shibata. And and then, the dojo guys get in there. They act like everything's going to cool off. And then as TJP's turning around, he attacks TJP with the belt, runs out of the ring.
He threw a water bottle at him.
Oh, that's right. Okay. He didn't attack him. He just threw water at him and then ran out.
Yeah.
Jumped the barricade, ran out like a coward, talked all that shit, and then, just got out of there. And it was quite a moment. And, I mean, just the news that, like, not only is he cleared, but he's staying in America. And not only is he staying in America, but he's got his own version of the IWGP title that is here now. And maybe it's a non-recognized IWGP title, non-sanctioned. Maybe it is. Maybe it's the real belt. Like, we don't know what the deal is. But, we've heard some reports of weak ticket sales in Philadelphia and Texas. And I got to imagine if, hypothetically, Will Ospreay's on those shows, it's going to do nothing but elevate ticket sales. Plus, when people started to chant other names from AEW, he's like, we don't want to hear about, those weak bitches. He's like, if they came here, what are they going to do? Nothing. I'll break them.
Yeah, he shut that down real quick. We did have some questions about this promo here. First from Rambo and Slam Pig. Would it have hit better for you if Ospreay revealed the old version of the IWGP title on Saturday?
No, not at all. Not even a little bit. Because while, yes, we like that design better, that's not the belt that Will Ospreay never, ever held that belt. He never even fought for that belt. So he has no connection to it in any sense. So, no. I much prefer the Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon. We both got the exact same belt. Who's the real champion?
Exactly. And then I'm sure, you could have Ospreay, quote unquote, do world title matches in America as Shingo is doing world title matches in Japan, and then it's got to come to a head.
Yeah, and that's cool and all, but it's going to be confusing for someone like me that really cares about, like, title defense records and numbers and stuff and lineages. Like, what does this mean?
His other question says, G1 is going to be missing a lot of the foreign star power this fall if things stay as is. Do you think there will be any Japanese free agents or lone talent to fill out the blocks, a change of format, or some juniors and young lions filling out the field?
I think it's possible that all those things could happen. Also recently, Tanahashi, during his Q&A, was asked about could the Forbidden Door open between Japanese talent, and he said something cool is in the works. And we don't know what that means, but like hypothetically, maybe someone from one of these, other companies or freelancers could get involved. Another thing too, again, we're not the experts on the situation with the passports and everything, but we talked about all these releases that happened with WWE recently. A lot of these foreign talents aren't going back because they're unhappy with, the quarantining and staying in the dojo and all that. But what if let's say if you're Jonah Rock and you're trying to get work with New Japan and you want to make a mark and there's an open opportunity to maybe get, the visa situation fixed in time, maybe you could see someone like that show up. I don't know.
Right. And especially because, guys like Jonah Rock who are here in the States are having, they have to get a new visa because their WWE is the one that provides them visa. So, trying to get in with New Japan, that could be a way to, get another visa and be able to either work U.S. or get across for G1.
Yeah. So, I mean, yes, I think there are some open doors. There's also the possibility that, we don't see too many outside seats filled. Like, they do have enough heavyweights in Japan to potentially fill the G1, but, pretty soon those announcements should be made. They're forthcoming, so we'll wait to see. But, I'd love to see like a Hiromu Takahashi in there or, someone from from another company. That would be so cool,
Yeah, Hiromu would be cool. I mean, everybody was, dying for him to be in it last year. A guy like Great Okan, I think it's probably a lock for his first G1. With the year Kojima's having, I think he could be a G1 guy. Yuji Nagata, I know he already, technically had his last G1, but the way that he's been going this year as well, and the way that they've been relying on him too, I mean, he's a guy that they could slide in there.
Kojima.
Yeah, I said Kojima.
Yeah. Hawaiian Punch BV asked us, how likely is it that there will be another double gold dash in Wrestle Kingdom, especially with Ospreay holding the real title? Maybe Naito wins the G1 and challenges Shingo, while Okada or Ibushi challenge Ospreay. New Japan can book Naito versus Ospreay for night 2. Sell a bunch of tickets for the Tokyo Dome if it's still not under renovation. And, that he brings up a lot of good points. There are speculations that the Tokyo Dome will be under renovation, and also there might be potential issues with just the business side of booking the G1 at that time of the year this year and all the restrictions. There is speculation that possibly we haven't heard this from anybody, but this is just kind of this is the speculation that's out there right now from a lot of people. They might not be able to do the Tokyo Dome for Wrestle Kingdom this year.
Yeah, and we talked about that a little bit last week. We had a question about that. So it's going to be very interesting to see where Wrestle Kingdom does end up if it's not going to be the Tokyo Dome. But this whole double gold dash, I think, this is something we talked about with Chris, and I've been seeing it all online. As long as there's going to be 2 dome shows, it seems like the game plan has to be double gold dash. And so this, whole real world champ, interim champ situation sets up the perfect scenario for there to be a reason to be another double gold dash situation where you have the unification match on one night and then the G1 winner facing the unified champion on the other night.
Well, this isn't unlike what happened when Brock Lesnar took the IWGP title hostage, and then the IGF kind of held that up as their world title. They called that the IWGP third belt. And when he relinquished it to Kurt Angle, who was with TNA at the time and was doing business with New Japan, he came back to New Japan as the champion. And they ended up doing a Tokyo Dome where Shinsuke Nakamura, who was the IWGP champion, defended his belt. And then Kurt Angle defended his IWGP version title against Yuji Nagata, which then led to another Tokyo Dome match between Nakamura and Angle to unify those titles. So there is some precedent for this sort of thing already. My thinking about it is this. If there had never been a double gold dash, quote unquote, in the past 2 years, I think that this would be awesome.
Yeah.
In fact, I actually think that compared to the builds of the last 2, this might end up being the strongest build.
And the one that makes the most sense.
And the one that makes the most logical booking sense, but it has that tainted sort of like, they've done this the last 2 years and there was a lot of issues with the booking. So, and now we're going to the well one more time. There's kind of that feeling, but maybe it will still turn out good because ultimately this does make a lot of sense. And honestly, the scenario you threw out here, Hawaiian Punch, as soon as I saw that Ospreay wasn't going to be in the G1, I told Chris and Jeremy, and I don't usually say something like this so early in advance, but I think Naito's winning the G1. I've thought it for a while, and this solidifies it for me.
Yeah, I was already also feeling Naito. I just feel like Naito versus Shingo is a money match to do at the Dome.
Agreed. And then, yeah, I think that the scenario plays out almost exactly how you said. I think that for me, Okada and Ospreay makes the most sense in the Dome again, a rematch in the Dome.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the winners of those matches the next night fight each other to unify the belt.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. You get, Ospreay to get his win back on Okada in the Dome. You do an awesome Shingo versus Naito matchup, that people, interfaction matchup, and then you do the final kind of big matchup between Ospreay and Shingo, a big stage for their rivalry at the Dome.
And I don't want to jump too far ahead. I think we're kind of booking the territory here, but
yeah.
Let's say Ospreay wins and Shingo wins, and you wind up with Naito and Okada. It's having them go up against each other again in that consolation match actually makes more sense than any of the other consolation matches because of their history in the Dome and everything like that. And maybe you even have some prior build, maybe in the G1 between the two of them. That might be like the final Dome like solidifying match between those two, and that would be a big deal. Even though that'd be like the one consolation match where people would be like, okay, I still really want to see it, especially in Japan.
Yeah,
it'd be a huge deal.
Yeah, that'd be a big deal, and that'd just be another fire card. You're main eventing Shingo Ospreay and a semi-main of Okada Naito. Like, yeah,
huge.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
So yeah, I think that's kind of what and you know what? Maybe none of this happens, but like, I don't know, man. We're giving Gato, if you're listening, someone from the office, we are giving you guys some fire right now.
Our new buddy Junko from the New Japan offices.
So Oscar Rooney asked, with so many Westerners not participating in the G1 in Japan, how about having one in America? Do we want to go down that route? Because I've got thoughts on it.
Yeah, let's go. I mean, we've had a lot of people asking us about this, some of the group chats we're in, a lot of people talking about, an American block or a separate G1, America version. So yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'll say this. I think possibly, and this is a pretty big possibly, maybe there might have been a point where you could have maybe done a portion of the G1 in America and done bigger business. That is possible. But it's not 2017 anymore. It's 2021. And if anything, the show that we just attended, even though it sold out, proved to me more than anything that New Japan right now is not a hot product in the States. And this is evidenced by the lack of ticket sales on these other subsequent shows. We've also had previous shows for the past 2 years in America that kind of show the same thing. Now, I do think that the partnerships they're working on with these other outside companies is helping, and I think that probably helped them sell the tickets that they just did at this show. But let's be very clear from the business side of things. The G1 Climax is the biggest tour that they do all year. They make the most amount of money for their whole fiscal year during that time and then during Dome season. And right now, let's just be very clear. There's no way that they could do an A block in Japan and a B block in America and then have a finals in like Japan. That would be fiscal suicide. So there's only two ways let's just take that off the table. There's no way that would draw. You know what I mean? It wouldn't. They would not do big business.
Right. I mean, we saw what happened with just one night in the G1 here in the U.S.
Right. They made money, and they probably got a good deal on that place through the Access TV and the Mark Cuban contact, but like it was not what they expected,
Right.
So let's take that off the table. Let me throw two possibilities that are possible to you. One is you break the tournament up into 4 blocks like I've talked about in the past, and you either have a 5 or 6 man block here in the States, and then you do the other 3 in Japan. And then you take and then with that, you have to have a 5 or 6 man block. So you're talking about 4 to 5 nights, maybe 6 nights of G1 action in the States. That I think is feasible. But then again, you have to stack it. You know, we're talking big stars. And then you have to really run the risk that it's going to draw well here in the States and run the right markets at the right time in consecutive fashion. And, you know, America is not really that kind of like, you know, they talk about burning out the territory. There's not too many places where you can be in close proximity and run 5, 6 shows like that, you know, and draw well and do big business. Whereas if you had those same 5 or 6 shows in Japan, they're even with the limited restrictions, because it's the G1, you are guaranteed they're gonna sell out. They're gonna do business because it is the G1. Maybe it could be worth it if with the restrictions, even with the sellout, the money might be less than the possibility of running bigger open shows in America. Even if they didn't sell out, maybe that trade-off is worth it. But I'm gonna guess no. There just seems to be too many moving pieces with 4 blocks, 2 continents. Like, that just seems like a mess. Plus, think about like all the production issues they've had in America in the past. I don't think so. The other option is you do your regular G1 in Japan, and then you do a mini G1 in America, and maybe you just run that as part of the Strong tapings, or you do it on Strong, right? And at that point, you're adding on to the G1. You're not detracting from it. But then again, you're at the end of it, what would the natural progression be? You'd probably need to have the American G1 champion fight the proper G1 champion. And then the American champion's probably going to lose, right?
Right.
Unless it's like Will Ospreay or something.
You would have to put it on somebody that can get into Japan, because we still are having issues getting people visas.
Right. And I mean, if it made monetary sense to do that, great. But I would feel, I don't know, maybe kind of, they haven't done too many round robins in America with the New Japan of USA product yet. So I'd probably be cool with it. But I also feel like if it's anything like a lot of the tournaments they've done on Strong, where it's like 10-minute matches, you know, 3 at a time, you know, I don't know. I just don't know how I'd feel about that. Like, that wouldn't feel like the G1 to me. The G1 are 30-minute time limit matches that are epic, that are, you know, these great boisterous nights. That just, unless they were doing the full Access TV level production, or like what they just did with Resurgence, like full 5 to 6, you know, nights of G1 in the US, I just don't think it's worth it. The bottom line is, I went through that to say this. It just doesn't really make a lot of monetary sense to me to try to do a G1 in the US unless the product got hot enough to warrant them doing that, you know?
Right. And I think, you know, we're going to talk about a lot of the announcements they made as far as shows coming in the future. And I feel like if you're going to do a G1 in America, or a mini G1, that they would have announced it at Resurgence, and one of these upcoming shows would have been called, you know, G1 Climax USA. I think they would have capitalized on that.
Can I tell you one scenario that I just thought of that might make it worth it?
Yeah.
AEW and maybe someone like Impact or Ring of Honor partners with them. But then again, I'm not talking about, you know, having like, who's like a mid-name that like is pretty big. Like, I'm not talking about having Frankie Kazarian on it.
Right. It needs to be like Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, Moxley.
Yep. Yeah, because it's the G1.
And then it would need to be like Bandito, Jonathan Gresham.
If you can get bigger, worthwhile stars from those companies who are proven draws to partner up with New Japan guys in a quote unquote G1 in America, you'd probably do big business. But then again, what's the deal with the G1? You got to take losses, and especially in a smaller format with, like, let's say if it was just 5 or 6 guys, you're talking about less matches, more quick losses. I don't see Tony Khan being cool with Darby Allin going in and eating 2 or 3 pinfalls. You know what I mean?
Right. And then once again, you still have to try and find a way to get the winner into Japan.
Right. So, yeah, I just want to, and we probably spent too much time on that, but the whole reason I do that is just because we get so many questions about this, and I think people really need to think about the economics of it.
Yeah. Next question's here from Muzza. He says, how was Ospreay able to make it to the U.S., yet Shooter could not?
Oh, that's a really, really great question. And in fact, me and Jeremy were talking with a lot of people this weekend. We started thinking a lot about it, and we were like, you know what? There really isn't a travel restriction from the UK to the US right now. I just I know the Delta variant is blowing up, and I'm not as connected to the news as everybody else. So when they were like, yeah, due to travel restrictions, can't make it. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. But then wait a second, what's Ilya Dragunov doing in WWE?
What's Walter doing here?
What's Walter doing here? What's Will Ospreay doing here? And then any other number of guys that live in the UK, they're just coming. Yeah. How did Pac make it to Dynamite? And then I'm like, oh wait, maybe they're lying to us.
Yeah, and we've been hearing some not great reports on Shota Umino's latest appearances. I've heard reports of him being out of shape and just not having great matches the last couple of matches he had.
Yes, we did hear that, and if those reports are true that he's out of shape and not ring ready, and sort of, if that stuff is true, then maybe they didn't think he was ready for a show of this caliber right now, which you combine that with the fact that other guys are able to get in and out of the country perfectly fine. I think there's smoke to that fire.
Right. And I know some people are pointing to, he's booked this Saturday to face Ricky Knight Jr. Well, guess who else is booked for Saturday? Will Ospreay. He's going to go face Doug Williams.
Headlines and hot takes, they have their place. But at our podcast, ESPN Daily, we don't just skim the surface of sports. Dude, I mean, this clearly transcends blood feuds, rivalries, sports. This is something far, far deeper than that. I'm your host, Pablo Torre, and every day we try to dive into the stories behind the athletes.
The picture of him in the dugout afterwards just looked like a guy who'd had his heart ripped out.
Listen to ESPN Daily wherever you get your podcasts.
Back to school season is here, and summer is still going strong. Visit Wetco to protect your car's paint from bugs and damage caused by UV rays. Ceramic wax keeps it shiny. If you're a teacher, student, or school staff, we'll give you 50% off a car wash between now and September 11th. Just show your school ID in store, or sign up for unlimited washes and cram in all the washes you want for one monthly price starting at $14.99 per month. Go back to school at your brightest. Visit getgocafe.com/unlimited today.
Muzza asked, with Ospreay, this might be the first time Muzza's asked good questions. With Ospreay bringing out his own IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, will this lead to another double gold dash of sorts for Wrestle Kingdom? And we're thinking, survey says,
yes.
Ding, 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 yes.
Then Dom Homie 101, any thoughts on the potential of who's the real IWGP World Heavyweight storyline, how will this story play out, which I think we kind of pretty much touched on.
Ladder match at Wrestle Kingdom. They probably could.
Dude, Shingo and Ospreay would have an awesome ladder match.
Shingo and Ospreay in a ladder match in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom. I know that's not a purist sort of thing, but they would probably tear the house down in a ladder match.
Yeah. Just thinking about that, man.
You have two belts. Anytime you got two belts,
you gotta do a ladder match. Let's move on with the rest of this card here. So, 7th match of the night, we had the Good Brothers, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, defeating Jon Moxley and his mystery partner, which ended up being Blue Justice, Yuji Nagata, 10 minutes and 33 seconds. So unfortunately for these guys, there happened to be random fireworks going off in the background during their match. So, people are, chanting about the fireworks, not paying attention to the match. And
it was a full-on production. Now, here's the weird thing. So when we pulled up to the building that night, I definitely heard a marching band playing. And I was like, is there a band practice? Is it football season? I don't watch shoot sports. I don't know what's going on. So then once the show started, we heard a concert. There was definitely rap. There was definitely singers. And then it looked like up in one of those like sky boxes, there was lights and stuff, kind of like going. And I was like, it looks like they're having a party up there.
Yeah.
But there was no lights on the field, and there definitely wasn't anyone on the field anymore, so but that skybox was like, just so it makes sense, if you're the hard camera to the left of the way the hard camera is facing, up in the skybox, that's where some sort of party or something was going on.
Yeah, they were getting lit over there.
They were getting lit. I mean, dude, they were like, there was one point where I heard like, "Get down on it," and I was like vibing with it. I was like, yeah. But then, in the middle of like their set, like the fireworks went off, and that was to the right of the hard cam, and I mean, they were like full on, like boof, 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 and it went on and on.
This was like WrestleMania level, like.
Yeah, like AEW's never had pyro this good.
Tony Khan probably wish he had this for the exploding barbed wire match.
Yeah, bro, it was incredible. And shout out to the Good Brothers. I don't usually give them that much props, but like whoever it was, I think it was Carl Anderson. He's like, I'm gonna lock on this headlock and just wait this shit out.
Yeah.
But like, it was really hard to pay attention to what was going on. The funny thing was like Mox, when it was happening, Mox like started playing into it and like started looking over like, what the heck is going on over there?
Yeah. And shout out to Ospreay. Ospreay took advantage too and took a picture in front of the fireworks too. Yeah,
Ospreay pretended like the fireworks were going off due to his return to New Japan Pro Wrestling, like it was for him specifically, which was really funny. Yeah, and then like the concert kept going on. Like there was one point like towards the end of the show where like you heard the people up in the stand, and she's like, "All right, well this could be the last song of our set," and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, how did nobody coordinate this?
Yeah. But you know what? I mean, with that and it being the Good Brothers, like this was just a match. Like
the whole thing was I don't think anyone thought the match was going to be good. I think the big question was who is going to be Moxley's partner, and that was the intrigue. I will say this from an insidery New Japan fan sort of perspective, Blue Justice makes the most sense.
Yeah,
because Moxley, if it wasn't Shooter, that is. Moxley really has had no partners or teammates or friendships in New Japan thus far. And the one guy that he's feuded with, where at the end of it there was a huge level of respect paid, was the match with Yuji Nagata on Dynamite. And after that, like the fact that they would team together kind of does actually make a kayfabe. In kayfabe makes sense. I would also say this: Yuji Nagata's the one guy who was on this show that's shown up on Dynamite that didn't seem to get that translation of popularity brought over. And I really thought with him being the surprise guy and having shown up on Dynamite that there'd be a better reception, but it also might be a case of failed expectations because people had different ideas in their mind. They thought it was going to be Brian Danielson or...
Yeah, there were people who missed the Umino news, thought it was going to be Shooter. Yeah, people thought it was going to be Sami Callihan was one of the big names that were fancied about. I mean, there were so many names that were getting thrown around that weekend that, yeah, some people could be disappointed that it wasn't whoever they were expecting.
The one thing is, like, it was pretty clear the Good Brothers were going to win this one. I think we speculated last week that was the most likely outcome. So, like, whoever it is that you wanted to come out, they were probably going to eat a pinfall to the Good Brothers. So, my whole thing is, like, it could have been much worse, Yeah. As much as I thought it was going to be Sami Callihan, I don't like Sami Callihan. So, it could have been a worse outcome. I was glad to get Yuji Nagata as the surprise guy on the show. It kind of gave it more of a New Japan flavor. But then again, I'm biased because we're a New Japan-based, fan podcast.
Right. Yeah, I love that it was Nagata, but, overall, as far as a match, it was fine.
It probably would have been better, but there were so many outside things going on that it detracted.
Right. So towards the end of the match, Moxley pulled out a chair, ends up backfiring him on him. They hit the Magic Killer to Mox on the chair, then 2-on-1 on Nagata in the ring. They hit the Magic Killer on him. Good Brothers get the win, but the real big talking point comes post-match. Good Brothers are doing their post-match promo and celebrating, And then with no music, out of nowhere, the Gorillas of Destiny, Tama Tonga Tangaloa, come strutting down to the ring, and we have a face-off between GOD and the Good Brothers.
Yeah, and this was something that has been speculated for a while now. People have been wondering, where is GOD? People have been wondering, what's going to be the outcome of this, supposed feud between Carl Anderson and Tama Tonga. And, even before they started playing, games with one another on Twitter and the jaw jacking and back and forth, we'd already kind of speculated about this, last year when the reports were coming in that, the Good Brothers were on their way to New Japan at some point once the pandemic sort of let up. And how would that power dynamic play out based on the fact that they're former Bullet Club and there's a new dominant Bullet Club tag team? So we kind of knew this was eventually going to happen.
Yeah, and also it was a great angle for this, Bullet Club crowd here in California. They were eating this up and really loved this confrontation between these guys. There was just, a lot of jaw jacking. Anderson kind of told Gallows we should back off. They bailed, and we didn't get any physical confrontation, but clearly down the line,
crowd was disappointed.
Yeah, the crowd, wanted them to fight, wanted there to be some kind of, brawl or whatever, and got nothing. And so it looks like at some point down the line, we are going to get GOD versus the Good Brothers.
Also, first time that we've gotten both GOD themes on the same night, because Hikuleo comes out to the previous theme, which I've always loved.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad he's kind of brought that back. But, the thing is with this is the Good Brothers, Tama has his own subsect of fans with Tama's Island and stuff, and his online following, and he's kind of cultivated his own working persona on the internet. And then so has the Good Brothers, with boozing with the boys and, talking shop mania and all that. And so there is a quote unquote Bullet Club subset of fandom that I don't think we're really a part of, and maybe unaware of how deep that goes. And I think that this is almost like a US sort of fan service feud for those types of fans as well, which is smart. It kind of plays into what they got going on. And then for the rest of us, there's still the general story of the history of the Bullet Club that plays into it all,
Yeah, and today Tama Tonga tweeted out the Firing Squad t-shirt saying, whose side are you on? So, we're starting back up this, Bullet Club Civil War that we didn't get really finished.
And then there's another subsect of fan that is a wrestling purist and kind of considers both teams to be shitty.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people we're connected to that are that. Is there anything that sounds more mid than a GOD Good Brothers feud?
You know what? If these guys maybe had a plunder match,
yes,
on a pay-per-view, I think that could be pretty good.
In ROH, you mean?
Yeah.
If they have a plunder match in Ring of Honor specifically,
yeah,
or if it's an anything goes match in AEW, then it'd probably be awesome. But I can't see in New Japan, it's probably gonna suck.
I'm just saying, if they do it on one of these California shows, no DQ, crowd will probably be into it, and it could probably be all right.
So the next match of the night, after all that Bullet Club turmoil, we bring in another Bullet Club guy, the leader of the Bullet Club, in fact, as we get the first of two double main events, the never open weight title match between Jay White, the champion, defending and defeating David Finlay. And boy, oh boy, was this a unique crowd experience.
Yeah, so you had the great little VTR before the match explaining the history between these guys, going back to the No-Gate Dojo and showing the record and showing Finlay beating Jay in the New Japan Cup. Everything set this match up. Then, Dave Finlay comes out first as a challenger. No reaction. Nobody cared that Dave Finlay was there.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people say he got booed, and he might have a little bit, but it was more just apathy. The crowd just did not care.
At first it did not care. When he came out, it was no crowd. Pretty much everybody else on the card got a better reaction coming out than Dave Finlay did. And
now, I'll say this in defense of it all. Sometimes in sports, especially in combat sports, which I'm a big fan of, think of, like, for instance, Conor McGregor, you know, anytime someone fights Conor McGregor, like, the crowd is, like, especially in Vegas, which, like, might be his town, or, like, I remember the one time he had a fight in Ireland, you know, those are, like, hostile crowds that, like, are there to see their guy. And the guy that he's fighting is, like, the lamb sent to slaughter. And those guys come out there and, like, it jitters them. It, like, gets to them. And, like, I know we don't always see situations like that in pro wrestling, but this, like, reminded me more of, like, an MMA fight where a big giant star is fighting, you know, a prominent guy, but someone that the crowd is not in favor of. And that's what this felt like.
Yeah. And then, you know, Jay White's music hits, big pop, big reaction. He comes out and he just starts too-sweeting everybody. Like, he never does that. He always pulls it away and he's jaw-jacking at the crowd.
I've never seen him do that.
This man was fired up.
He had the fucking the Wolfpack logo, and he's just running through the crowd like this man's never gotten this kind of reception in his whole career, probably. Like, I kind of felt like it was a cool moment, but I was like, what's going on?
Yeah, you know,
like,
big, you know, too sweet, whoop whoop chants, switchblade chants, let's go, Jay.
All night the too sweet whoop whoop stuff. I was like, dude, like, Marty Scurll's not part of the Bullet Club anymore. Like, there haven't been they don't even do too sweet in the book. I guess they do the too sweet.
They do the underneath.
Yeah, the underneath. Yeah. But I was like, man, you guys are from a different era. But yeah, man. And then the match, you know, I can't really speak to the match. Like, I haven't rewatched it. In the moment, it felt really dry and bland. The crowd only popped anytime Jay White did anything, and anytime Dave Finlay did stuff, they either booed or sat on their, like, hands. Like, it was weird.
Yeah, I mean, both guys were working extremely hard. I did rewatch this match because I wanted to get a better feel for it, you know, watching it on TV versus being in the crowd. And these guys, they worked really hard. I mean, it was a kind of by the numbers, not as a bad thing, but, you know, this is the Jay White, Dave Finlay kind of playbook. They did a lot of their signature spots. A lot of callbacks to their previous matches, and it was they worked really hard. A lot of cool spots. You know, Jay did his signature, you know, Saito over the top rope to Finlay. You know, his sleeper suplexes. You know, kind of a lot of signature stuff. And yeah, just for whatever reason, you know, fans wasn't into Finlay, but I still thought it was a good match, but probably would have been better if the crowd was bought more into the story and more into Finlay.
Considering how great Dave Finlay's run through the New Japan Cup was and how great his win over Jay White was in that cup, this was disappointing. And you know what? Quite frankly, this is probably the wrong crowd to put this match in front of if your intention was to simultaneously get both guys over. Now, if your goal was what they did here was to elevate Jay, then this is the perfect place to do it. Now, I want to talk about one thing before we got a question from Dom Homie 101. He said, thoughts on the rumors of Dave Finlay looking to take his talents to New York, a.k.a. McMahonville, a.k.a. the E, a.k.a. WWE. Yeah. So basically, for those of you that don't know, there was recent Wrestling Observer Live episodes where every day they were interviewing various different individuals leading up to Resurgence to try and plug the show. So they did like a short segment with Dave Finlay, short segment with Rocky Romero one day, Chris Dickinson, JR Kratos. So they were kind of like just doing press for the show. And Dave Finlay made some comments on that show that have been interpreted by some as maybe just not even really pushing the importance of this show, but also talking about outside things. Like, he talked about how, like, he really admires Kyle O'Reilly, would like to work with him one day. People interpreted that as meaning he wants to go to NXT. He talked about how he would love to learn from Shawn Michaels
and Triple H.
Talked about how he preferred the Western style to the Japanese style, and he didn't know what the future held for him. And a lot of people have interpreted all of that to mean he's going to NXT. And maybe that is his goal. You know, we talked about the Gaijin unrest this past year, and we talked about
and during that Gaijin unrest, there was, you know, stories of Finlay saying, yeah, you know, my son's unhappy. I'm you know, trying to, you know, get him over into WWE kind of thing. So
His contract's not much longer. I believe it's coming up possibly. I could be wrong, but I think it's like January. And, you know, he was one of the guys that got COVID and had to quarantine in the dojo and wasn't happy with how they handled the travel with that. So was Jay White. And that's why he also declined to go back for the G1. So, you know, a lot of people called those stories bullshit, but I think we're seeing evidence that those stories
right.
were not bullshit. Do I think this means he's going to NXT? I don't really know, and I didn't think that when I heard it personally. But after people pointed out those facts, I was like, hey, maybe that is what he's sounding like. Maybe he knows he's kind of hit his ceiling in Japan. But at the same time, he could just be a guy that was trying to stir the pot and draw interest to him and what he's doing. You know what I mean?
Right. It could have been him, you know, negotiating his contract. Contract's up. I'm going to say all this, you know, stuff to throw out signals. And the New Japan office can offer me a sweet deal.
I wouldn't put that past him either. But a lot of people took that to basically mean like, fuck this guy. He doesn't have, you know, devotion to New Japan, blah, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a lot of people have thus in turn interpreted his reactions to the show as being caused by that interview. Let me just say this. Of course, there probably were some fans that affected, but that crowd was not a ultra smart Dave Meltzer-esque observer board newsletter reading crowd who listens to Wrestling Observer Live on the daily. No. As we talked about before, this was a crowd that bought this show for Jay White almost day one, way before those comments were ever made. If Dave Finlay went out there and cut the most incredible presser promo that was endearing to New Japan and really hyped up the shit and like got him over to those listening, he would have still got the exact same response. This was a no-hoper situation. This guy was never going to get a positive response in that building that night. That was Jay White's crowd.
Yeah, another thing too, this feud, I mean, it was hot in March when
a long time ago
when Finlay got the upset win over Jay, and the Wrestle Grand Slam was originally going to happen in May. Like it was hot then. Then now it's August now. The feud's cooled off. Yeah, they did some stuff on Impact. The Impact before, you know, they've been feuding FinJuice and Beyblade, and you know Jay's been laying out Finlay on Impact TV. But again, that's, you know, 125,000, 150,000 people watching Impact. How many of those people were at the show? Probably not many. So a lot of people really didn't see any of the somewhat build they try to do for this match.
And you know, speaking to that is like, I'm not against New Japan having some angles that they run on Impact. You know, there's been a lot of talks when these different companies that are doing the cross-pollination angles, it's like, well, who's this benefiting more? Who's this benefiting less? And everything like that. And I think in some cases they're trying to maybe not focus so much on that and basically work more on like synergy and working together. That being said, I don't think that particular platform has been the most beneficial platform to build up this particular feud or angle, based on the size of the viewing audience, like you mentioned, Jeremy. And like, you know, I don't think Impact has like the strongest like YouTube, you know, social media kind of presence. There wasn't buzz for the match. If anything, there's buzz for Jay White, and that's about it. And that was kind of proven here. And yeah, it's kind of unfortunate for Dave Finlay. Like this, he was sort of seeming like he was on the cusp of stardom with the New Japan audience, but that has not translated to the West at all.
Not at all.
I felt bad, bro. And like, you know what? Like, I was trying to be like one of the guys that was like going for Dave Finlay, but like I had to do it in sort of a facetious way because I had to be sarcastic because like you couldn't seriously be the guy that was like, let's go, Dave.
Right. Come on, Finlay.
Yeah. Nobody cared. Like, bro, that crowd was hostile, dude.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. We
Jay
were
White.
Yeah, bro. That was Switchblade territory. Like,
and
man.
then, so Jay gets the big win, and, you know, they do the angle. So afterwards, he cuts a promo. Tomohiro Ishii comes out, which makes sense because he picked up the big win over Moose earlier in the night, and he's got a lot of history with Jay, especially in the most, this past calendar year. And, Dave Finlay talks about how he beat, he already beat Ishii, and Ishii has no business challenging him because he's the only quadruple champion in history. And, Ishii's never held any other title other than the Never Belt.
Yeah, he's like, Ishii's never been the IWGP US champion. Ishii's never been the IC champion, right, Kevin Kelly? He's never been the IC champion. He's definitely never been the IWGP heavyweight champion.
Yeah, and that whole thing is funny because it's like kind of not taking into account the world title, but he can't talk about the world title because he's never won it yet himself, It's going to be funny the day he wins it and talks about how he's the only guy to hold all 5 major titles.
Yeah.
I want someone to be like, you never held the NWF belt or the U30 belt or the greatest 18 club championship.
I was saying Filthy Tom need to come out and be like, you ain't never hold this strong openweight title.
Right. But, after all that happened, dude, like a lot of people, I don't want to make it sound like a majority, but it was noticeable that a large portion of the crowd.
Yeah, Chris Samsa's whole row left.
His whole row. And I mean, it was a full row. There was probably like 30, 40 chairs. The whole row got up and left. And it was mostly people in the back, though, which, again, like I mentioned, were kind of like seemed to be the more casual fans. They were the ones chanting the more obscene and kind of degrading and vulgar stuff. So it kind of made sense, but very strange. And then that brings us to the main event, the IWGP United States Heavyweight title match, defending champion Lance Archer taking on Hiroshi Tanahashi. Match went 19 minutes, 26 seconds. This was my choice for match of the night, and I really enjoyed this match a lot.
Yeah, this match was awesome. It's always great to see the Ace in action live, challenging here for the U.S. title. Kind of your typical pro wrestling story here. You have the big monster heel against the hero babyface, and Lance Archer, he is kind of a tweener on AEW. He's been more babyface leaning lately. Like we mentioned, he got a great reaction, but I thought Lance did a great job of, getting the crowd to boo him, getting heat on Tanahashi. Like we mentioned that the whole, tramp stamp, chair chant, he shut that down, and he was just being so monstrous to Tanahashi in this match and beating him down, using a lot of power moves, and also Tanahashi, an amazing seller, kind of fighting from underneath and would fire up. And I love this match. I rewatched the G1 2019 match before the trip, and this match was definitely better than the G1 match. And I mean, the G1 match was good, but it was a kind of a middle of the card match. It got like 14 minutes, and Tanahashi won with victory roll. This was a main event, longer match, a lot more back and forth, a lot of cool spots here, and
they actually played off that victory roll spot, and that was kind of a cool callback as well.
Yeah, they did a great job highlighting that in the VTR video package. So even for like those casual fans, they saw that before the match, so that helped too. Archer, there was one point where he hit the blackout. And normally nobody really kicks out of the blackout. And so that was a great near fall there.
But he didn't kick out. He got to the rope.
Oh, sorry. He got his foot on the rope. Yeah.
Yeah, so ring awareness.
Yes, the Ace ahead. But yeah, a lot of great counters. Tanahashi countering the second blackout into a sling blade. We got the Aces high. We got 3 high fly flows, and
oh, bro, I was losing my. Tanahashi's my guy, so yeah. I was jumping up and down. I was acting boisterous. I don't normally act that way all the time, but like seeing Tanahashi, just knowing what's coming, like I think it's just one of the greatest segments in professional wrestling. Just I remember growing up thinking like that Shawn Michaels tuning up the band was the best because you know what's coming. But, like, dude, seeing him hit high fly flow to the back, high fly flow to the front, proper high fly flow, you're just like, oh, my God, he did it. And then, yeah, the 1, 2, 3 was just so good.
Yeah, that was an awesome moment as a fan to see Tanahashi win a title live, becoming the first Japanese talent to hold the U.S. title, becoming the second.
Ever, yeah.
Yeah, becoming the second Grand Slam champion, and it was just a great, feel good moment for New Japan fans.
Yeah, he heard Jay White earlier in the night. He's like, hold my beer.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this is kind of what we predicted. The Ace winning the belt back, taking that belt back to Japan, so they can have a secondary title there to draw and put on some of these big shows. Tanahashi did tweet out that he's on the way back to Japan. He tweeted out a picture of him and Nagata in the airport today. I know a lot of fans really wanted Ace to stick around to face Moxley at All Out or at the Grand Slam show in New York, Arthur Ashe Stadium, but seems like the Ace is heading back.
Yeah, Jon Moxley was noticeably and highlighted on the show. He was at ringside, sitting right by the red belt, drinking a beer, sitting back, being an interested party. My whole thing, I was sitting there, I was like, this guy needs to go away. Okay, he just lost a tag match. Like, he's got no – Ishii won his match. He gets to come out and challenge. Another funny thing, too, we were at a group meetup, and apparently there was a contingency of Japanese fans that were actually complaining about complaining that like Tanahashi, had just lost a major match to Shingo and didn't deserve to be getting this title shot. So I was like, man, I couldn't imagine fans that were upset about Tanahashi getting a title shot. That's so crazy.
Man, New Japan fans love logical booking, man.
Yeah, we made a joke at the meetup. I was like, if only there was a place where wins and losses mattered.
Yeah.
Oh,
but to be fair, I mean, Tanahashi was not even supposed to be in that match. He won his match against Kenta, and so he was supposed to come into this show with a win.
Right. So, yep. And, so the match ends. Archer cuts a really great promo just talking about how much he respects Tanahashi, and then he says, I want you to come to AEW, and when you do, I don't want you to fight anyone else before you fight me and give me another chance at that title. And like Tanahashi, I think he like promised him that he would.
Said, yes, I promise. I promise you.
Yeah, so it's like he's apparently going to come to AEW and fight Archer, and then the Mox match is on dock too. So and we've kind of said, and again, the Mox match could happen in Japan or in AEW. It's hard to know. But, there are those conspiracy theorist fans that think that everything he's putting out about him going back to Japan, that it's all work, that he's not needed for those Cebu Dome shows, and that he's actually going to do business with Mox here in the States before he goes back for G1. I'm not so confident of that. I think they do need him for the Cebu Dome shows desperately, so I'm pretty sure he's going.
We got Toru Yano versus Chase Owens as one of the highlight matches on the show. We need the Ace.
and it's funny. Western fans are like – I'm going to throw some shade at friends of ours. Western fans are like, we need him on these AEW shows. I'm like, no, you don't, bro. If you want to watch him, watch New Japan. And they're like, we want him in AEW. And I'm like, I mean, cool. That would be cool too. I'm not opposed to it, but like, damn, like business down, bro. Like,
right. Give us a break. Give us a break, man.
Stale Burger Bun asked us, what makes Tanahashi so damn enjoyable?
Dude. There's
everything.
Yeah, there's so much. You talk about from the entrance. I mean, superstar entrance. Guy comes out. I mean, he looks in great shape too. Like I know he's been kind of having like the little like belly issue, but he looked in like G1. Well, obviously G1's coming up. He looked in G1 shape here. The selling is so great. His selling is so great. The storytelling.
His hair, bro.
The hair. The
psychology.
Yes.
The high flying, the desperation, the facials,
the fighting
timing.
Spirit when he fires up.
Yeah, bro. He's the fucking best. Like he is. Oh man,
he's incredible.
So, any final thoughts? Well, I guess my final thought in the show is I'll say this. Even though this show maybe lacked true, what I would call like banger classics. Across the board, it was super enjoyable as far as just bell-to-bell action. There was really hardly any matches that I would say were like not worthwhile checking out. I mean, it was just a really good wrestling show. You compile that with like a really great setting, big crowd, and then so many talking point moments. This sort of really just felt like a reset.
Yeah, it felt like a reset.
New Japan of USA.
Yeah, it felt like a reset. It felt like a big show, a lot of big angles, a lot of direction for the future. I thought that Matt Morris, former Aiden English, did a great job on commentary with Kevin Kelly, and
it looks like he's going to be doing matches. We'll talk about that, but I'm not a big fan of active wrestlers doing the commentary. I prefer one or the other.
Yeah. And why do I always keep forgetting his name?
Alex Kozlov.
Yeah, Alex Kozlov. And Kozlov, I thought he did really well on this show as well.
I thought so too. I thought he did good.
Yeah, it's a great booth.
One last thing, we're going to talk about tickets and upcoming shows that they've got, but one last talking point. So, we went into the show with technically one U.S.-based champion that was truly highlighted on New Japan Strong, that being Filthy Tom Lawler, that being the Strong title established earlier this year. Coming out of the show, it really seems that we have 3 major singles titles now. We've got confirmation that, Jay White's going to be featured on these upcoming shows, got feuds in place, the Never title, and then you've got a secondary, maybe you could call it the lineal, maybe you can call it the real, maybe you can call it the fake IWGP World title. So now, what's your interpretation? Because to me, I see those 2 belts and those 2 caliber stars maybe detracting a little bit from what the Strong title is supposed to be, but maybe it's needed based on the fact that they're going to a live format and they're trying to sell tickets. I don't know.
Yeah, based on some of the stuff coming up, I definitely feel like they need the star power of Jay and Will, and then having those guys with top titles is great. But yeah, I do feel like it does kind of lower the Strong title maybe to like a TV title role, instead of kind of being the top title in the brand. And we've been talking about this off air. I feel like this could lead to Filthy Tom confronting these guys on one of these shows and being like, hey, you guys came in my territory. Like, I am the Strong champ. I'm the top guy here. Maybe you get a feud somehow that way with the champions. But it does kind of lower the Strong title a bit. But I guess in a way, with 3 titles now, you can do 3 title matches without having to bring people over.
It'll be interesting to see how this all is handled and dealt with going into, this next phase of New Japan Strong.
Yeah, and so, like we mentioned, during the show, they did make a couple of announcements for shows coming up. So we already knew about the Philly and Texas shows coming up. Well, they announced another set of Strong tapings for the Detonation Tour, which will be going to the Riverside Municipal Auditorium, and that will be on November 15th. And wrestlers announced for that, we got Switchblade Jay White, Filthy Tom Lawler, Flamboyant Juice Robinson, David Finlay, the Stone Pit Bull, Tomohiro Ishii, Mr. Dode's Off, Fred Rosser, the Man of the Hour, Leo Rush, the Alpha Wolf, Carl Fredericks, the Wild Rhino, Clark Connors, Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson, and Ren Narita. And then they also announced another big pay-per-view style show for the San Jose Civic Center called the Battle in the Valley, which will also be happening in November, and this will be November 13th, first time in 2 years that New Japan returns to the San Jose Civic Center. Announced for this show, we have Jay White, Tom Lawler, John Moxley, Tomohiro Ishii, David Finlay, Juice Robinson, Leo Rush, Hikuleo, Fred Rosser, and Ren Narita. WrestleTix has the early ticket numbers from this show. So this was pulled around 4 o'clock this afternoon from WrestleTix. There is 1,588 tickets available, an estimated capacity of 2,026. 438 tickets have been sold so far, so about 22% of the tickets were gone from earlier this afternoon. And with every possible seat on the map, they could do 2,466, but obviously with staging, that might kill some of the seats. So about 22% of the tickets sold for this big Battle in the Valley so far.
Yeah. Watch the advertisement that they have for this show. Very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, just like with this show, Resurgence, Tanahashi was featured in the advertisement, was never announced until the last second. And if you watch closely, Shingo Takagi and Kazuchika Okada are featured in this Battle in the Valley promotional video. So if all goes well, they can get them over here. It seems like we're going to get Shingo and Okada on the show.
Could be something, might be nothing. But, it just, they did it with Tanahashi. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, that's post G1. So I don't know. It's kind of funny, though. We showed up for this show and we were wondering how much media was going to be there. We saw the media list, pretty exclusive, honestly, a lot less than I thought. We were wondering if Dave was going to make his way out there, but, he didn't make the trip down to LA. So it looks like New Japan decided we're going to take the show to Dave, a show just for Dave Meltzer in San Jose.
And Ospreay not announced yet, but I'm sure he might probably end up being on that show, and Dave would love that as well.
Yes.
And we had a question here from Dom Homie 101. Is it possible that we may get Wrestle Dynasty in the near future?
That's an interesting question. During one of the inner mission sort of things, they did a thank you video to the fans in the States and kind of gave a kind of a weird history because it wasn't sequential, but they gave a history of New Japan in the U.S. and the last 4 years. And at first, they started off with Wrestle Dynasty and how it was going to happen, and then it got canceled. And so we were looking at Chris looking at us. We're like, oh my God, they're going to do MSG.
Dude, I pulled up the tweet. I was tweeting all night. I pulled it up. I was like getting ready to type, New Japan's returning to Madison Square Garden. I'm like, say date. And it was like, thank you for being a fan. I'm like, what?
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you right now, it seems like probably a no for now. But anything is possible. But with the fact that this year's almost up, unless they got big plans for 2022, it doesn't seem like anything this year that's going to happen.
Yeah, and I know also we're still in the pandemic. There's a lot of mask restrictions starting to come up for indoors in certain states. I think New York's going to be one of those states and requiring vaccination. So
the New Japan Strong tapings took place. Hearing very positive things about the atmosphere, the crowd, and the matches. So very exciting. But we've got the first episode coming out of the 3-episode taping that they did. That's coming up this Friday.
Well, this Friday is not a fan.
Oh, this was pre-taped.
This is still the Summer Struggle empty arena show. So everything that was taped on Monday, I'm guessing it's probably going to be aired in September. On Observer Live, Rocky said it would be about 3 or 4 weeks before we saw what was taped. So everything for the time being, as long as we're still in Summer Struggle, it's going to be empty arena.
Well, that kind of makes sense. If hypothetically they did more build for Leo Rush, and we'll wait and see. But if they had done more build for Leo Rush and Filthy on the taping leading up to what just happened, that might make more sense.
Yeah. So in the main event, we see the continuation of the Violence Unlimited and Team Filthy feud. The main event's going to be Brody King and Chris Dickinson versus Jarrell Nelson and Royce Isaacs. Then in the middle match, we'll have Clark Connors, Ren Narita, and TJP taking on Fred Rosser, Fred Yehi, and the debuting Daniel Garcia, who's been all over AEW the last couple of weeks. Pretty excited about that, and also continuing the build with the Rosser Narita match. And then the opening match, we'll get Matt Morris, a former Aiding English, making his New Japan debut as part of the Alex Coughlin Challenge Series and facing Alex Coughlin.
Yeah, it's interesting how through this partnership between these major companies, certain guys like Wheeler Yuta, Daniel Garcia, different, others, Danny Limelight, guys that are getting work between all three companies, but not necessarily exclusively signed to any of them. That's kind of like an interesting development of this whole thing, and something I think is kind of overlooked and probably a net positive for everybody involved,
Yeah, and also these guys get more experience, more time to shine, bigger platform from these guys, and just once again, just kind of helps with that synergy, and it's really awesome to see a guy like Daniel Garcia kind of show up here on Strong, especially after, all this was taped before his AEW appearances. Now with that AEW TV, some people might want to check this out on Strong.
So that's going to lead us into the Summer Struggle, the tour this past Monday, and then earlier today, the 17th. Big news going into the shows. There were wrestlers absent due to COVID protocols. Changes were made to the August 16th card. On Sunday, August 15th, Shingo Takagi and Bushi presented with a fever on arrival at a live event in Shizuoka. I don't usually have a problem pronouncing, but it looks like I do with this one. In accordance with New Japan's COVID-19 protocol, both wrestlers did not compete on the card and have undertaken PCR tests. Both will be absent from live events while awaiting the results, while contact will also be absent as a precautionary measure.
Yeah, so Shingo Bushi pulled off the card, and pretty much people who they were in contact with. So all of LIJ pulled from the card, and Dick Togo and Gato pulled from the card and having to forfeit their matches in the tag league.
Which ultimately doesn't matter because they were winless going into
right
up to this point and already disqualified anyways from winning. So on Monday, August 16th, we had Great Bash Heel, Togi Makabe and Hanma defeated Master Wato and Ryosuke Taguchi. Hearing really good things about Togi Makabe's performance on these nights. I am not fully caught up on the shows. We're kind of just going to go over some of the big angles and big ongoings. Second match of the night, Goto and Yoshihashi and Tenkoji. They defeated the Suzuki-gun team of Doki, Suzuki, Taichi, and Zack Sabre Jr. Third match of the night, Okada and Yano defeated Bullet Club team of Chase Owens and Jado.
And real quick on that, because I forgot to put it in the news, the stipulations were announced for the voting. Voting's going on right now for the Yano Chase Owens match, and then you can either vote for Chase's rules, which is a traditional Texas strap match, or Toru Yano wants an I Quit match. So those are the two votes. Last time I checked, the I Quit match was winning by a landslide, so it looks like we're going to get these guys in an I Quit match.
I liked my idea of having both matches combined into one rule set. Super Junior Tag Team action. We had the Bull Club team of Bull Club's cutest tag team, Phantasmo and Taiji Ishimori. They defeated the surging Robbie Eagles and Tiger Mask 16 minutes and 22 seconds. And the big talking point, the main event of the evening, the Suzuki-gun team of El Desperado and Yoshinobu Kanemaru defeated Roppongi 3K, Sho and Yo, 21 minutes and 52 seconds in the main event. But the big news coming out of this was the ongoings post-match between Sho and Yo.
Yeah, well, pretty much and towards the end of the match, Desperado, they're beating down on Yo. He gets locked in the numero dos, and Sho is on the outside just looking, pissed off. He's, giving up on the team, and he just kind of walks out 2-on-1 on Yo. That they pin him. And then, post the match, he comes back in the ring, picks that man up, hits him with a shock arrow. Sho Michael is finally leaving Marty Jannetty in the dust. He throws him through the barbershop window. He's strapping the rocket to himself, and he's going to elevate himself to the next level here.
Yeah, this is a moment we've had extensive discussion about for years. Like since the show started in 2017. So pretty significant moment. A lot of questions, talking points. So let's get into it. Hawaiian Punch BV asked, what's next for Roppongi 3K after the split? Sho maybe joins the United Empire. Their singles match is a main event for Best of the Super Juniors, ?
Yeah, and Aaron Henare did retweet the angle of Sho pile driving Yo, so that there could be some fire there behind him joining the United Empire. And a lot of people are like, United Empire needs a junior, so Sho has to join that faction. I'm not sure he has to. I mean, it would be cool to get him in a new faction, a new look, and be the junior over there, but I don't think he immediately needs to join them right away.
Yeah, I mean, he could literally exist as an undeclared bad guy junior wrestler for the time being. That would kind of be an intriguing little tidbit or storyline for the time being,
Yeah, or what if, crazy thought here, what if Sho becomes the leader of its own faction? I'm not sure who would be in it, but maybe there's some other people he could get to defect from Chaos, or maybe some new debuts or somebody else that he could get to kind of build his own group.
Yeah, that's interesting. As far as the Super Juniors, there's been a lot of discussion about prospective potential dome matches. I think a lot of people are kind of putting Hiromu and Desperado as their, what's the main contention for a potential dome match. But keep in mind, they might be doing 2 nights. And with this split up, I mean, these guys are definitely on some sort of collision course. I don't know if Super Junior's main event is where, or finals is where it's headed, but given the fact that it's probably going to be a single block tournament again, we're going to see these guys face off at some point, and where they're headed, who knows? I mean, this is something where we have to sit and watch and wait. Like, I don't know, it's pretty exciting. Rambo and Slam Pig asked us, he said, what is next for Show? I would love to see him in United Empire, but if not there, then what else would be a good fit? How long until he gets a shot at the junior title?
Well, I mean, we've just seen him get a shot at the junior title recently, and he didn't win it. So this is definitely going to be a kind of building phase for him. I could see him doing obviously very well in Best of Super Juniors, and maybe he wins, and that leads to a title match for him there, or maybe it's after Wrestle Kingdom. But
I think that's a lot of assumption there, Jeremy. I mean, you think about it, like, yeah, he got a title shot recently, but that was as a face. That was a member of Roppongi 3K. Now, this guy, he's a different guy now, and we know how they can be in New Japan, where they just, look at Evil. I mean, it's not quite the same thing because Evil won a tournament, but they could easily, plus it's a different champion too. It's Robbie Eagles. It's not Hiromu.
Yeah, and Eagles, one of his stablemates in Chaos. He's a babyface.
There's a story there.
Yeah, they could definitely do an Eagles show match. I'm just thinking, we got G1 coming up. I don't think we're gonna get a junior title match before G1 or during G1. So it has
there's two Cebu Dome shows.
That's true. Yeah. Well, Eagles already facing Hiromu.
There's 2 nights.
I know, but I don't know if they're going to do a back-to-back junior title matches like that.
I'm not saying they will, but I'm not.
Maybe you do Show versus Yo on one of those on that dome.
That's a possibility too. There's a lot of possibilities. We kind of talked about where what the future holds for him as far as factions go, but yeah, I mean, it's exciting because we don't know what's next.
Yeah.
Muzza asked, Shawn Michaels finally got rid of the dead weight of Marty Jannetty, but in all seriousness, what are the odds this could be a Wrestle Kingdom match, perhaps for the junior title? That is a possibility.
Yeah, that is a possibility. I don't know. I just feel stronger in Hiromu somehow being involved in that title picture, unless Hiromu's being pushed up to heavyweight, going to be in the G1. He's going to wrestle heavyweight the rest of the year, but they definitely could do a Shoyo title match.
I will say this. I don't think Show's ready for heavyweight because if you noticed, he's actually looked a lot slimmer. This was a joke I was going to make the other week. Right now, it looks like Yo's in the middle of a bulk and Show's in the middle of a cut because he is all cut up, and Yo is looking bigger than I can ever remember him ever looking before.
Yeah.
So, but last year they did do 2 junior matches back to back, kind of their own version of the double gold sort of deal. There could be something like that for the Dome this year again, but maybe you have these 2 involved with potentially, especially since Desperado seems to be so tied up in the split of Roppongi 3K. And maybe you could have Robbie Eagles involved somehow. I don't know. It's hard to say. It's interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways they can go with it. Also, these guys are going to feud somehow, whether the title is involved or not. We'll have to wait and see.
It is kind of funny. Desperado was sort of the guy that was the catalyst for this. It started with that promo, that scathing promo that he cut on them, and it was so detrimental.
Yeah.
And then now,
who knows? Maybe Show joins Suzuki-gun. I mean, they already have 3 juniors, but I mean, you could add another.
There are people that would like to see that. I also saw people talking about reaching out to Jay. They're like, Jay, Yohei Komatsu is a free agent. Maybe you should pick your boy up.
Yeah.
So yeah, Dom Homie 101 asked us any thoughts on. Oh, did I just answer that? No, I didn't.
No.
Sorry. Any thoughts on the split of Roppongi 3K? Thoughts on how it was done? Could it have been done in a better way or been done on a bigger show? And did the right guy turn? How will this play out for both Show and Yo? And I think that that's interesting because this is kind of their tournament. So it's poetic in a certain sense, but also kind of a minor show, and this is a big split, and it does seem like maybe it's too small of a stage for it.
Yeah, I feel like nobody has been watching these shows. I mean, there's like barely any grapple reviews, barely any cage match reviews, not a lot of people really talking about what's going on with these shows. And you would think in a split like this that people have literally been asking us about for years. Who's going to turn on who? When's the split going to happen? What's the future of these guys? Who's the star? You would think maybe at the Dome show they would have done this, or Best Super Juniors, like save it for a bigger platform where more people are watching. But from a story perspective, it does make sense to happen in a Super Junior Tag League where they've won it 3 years in a row and they're normally the top team. So yeah, story-wise it makes sense, but yeah, it could have been on a bigger stage.
I agree. And then finally he asked, what does the future of New Japan's junior tag team division look like without Roppongi 3K? And
well, you know what that means, Josh? We've watched our last Despy and Kanemaru versus Roppongi 3K match for the time being, hopefully.
For the time being. I mean, this is the flagship team of the division, and now that they're no longer a part of that division, we get to see them kind of take their rightful roles as single stars in the just general IWGP Junior division. I wouldn't be surprised if along the way they pick up alternate partners and we see them feud against one another over the junior titles down the line.
Yeah, that would make a ton of sense. I mean, in the meantime, you still have Bullet Club's cutest tag team. You got Despy and Kanemaru.
And that's it.
Yeah, I mean, also they stick Wato and Noguchi together. Tiger Mask and Eagles. Like, there's not much.
It does create a vacuum that hopefully a good team comes in and fills in the future.
Yep, and then that takes us to the 17th, where that show is also affected by COVID protocols due to Shingo and Bushi's fever. They're still waiting on the result of the PCR test. So those guys pulled again. All the LIJ guys pulled again. Dick Toko and Gato pulled again. They forfeit their last match, so they're 0-5. And then Sho and Yo's split has also caused them to forfeit their last match as well. So they are also finishing the league up 0-5.
And since their final match was against Gato and Jado, we don't even have to watch Gato and Jado beat them. Both teams forfeit the match. Both teams get zeros. Both teams finish the tournament with 0 points.
Yeah.
On this evening, we had Great Okan defeating Hanma, 10 minutes, 50 seconds. Makabe and Yano defeating the Bullet Club. Oh, most violent players.
Yeah, back together.
MVP. They defeated the Bullet Club team of Chase Owens and Jado. It's a lot of 2 wins in a row for Toru Yano teams against Chase Owens teams. I don't know. Suzuki-gun team of Doki, Suzuki, and Dangerous Tekkers. They defeated the Chaos team of Goto and Yoshihashi, along with Tenkoji, 15 minutes and 21 seconds. And then the double main event, Super Junior Tag League action, we had Wato and Taguchi as they defeated Eagles and Tiger Mask, 15 minutes and 40 seconds. And in the main event, the deciding match, Suzuki-gun, El Desperado, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru, they defeated the Bull Club's cutest tag team, El Phantasmo and Taiji Ishimori, and that makes them this year's winners of the Super Junior Tag League.
Yeah, at the end of the match, Kanemaru was the legal man. ELP thought it was Despy. He hits the sudden death on Despy. He throws Taiji on Despy. Raichu was like, hey, man, Kanemaru's the legal man. They start arguing. Kanemaru hits a low blow, rolls up ELP. 1, 2, 3. Despy and Kanemaru get the win. They challenge ELP and Taiji post-match for the junior tag team titles. But interesting stuff in ELP and Taiji's post-match promo. They're more focused on going to Strong because they are going to be on some of the upcoming tapings, and they talked about going to Strong and wanted to face some of the best junior tag teams in Strong. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do here.
Although I don't think there's any true established junior tag teams that I can think of. So, maybe we're going to see some alliances formed, some, new teams kind of formated. Although, it kind of reminds me of, like, remember when GOD came in, they just ran roughshod over everybody?
Yeah.
But final Super Junior Tag League standings, Desperado and Kanemaru, they're your winners, 8 points. And they have a tiebreaker over the Bullet Club's cutest tag team, who also had 8 points. both finished with 4-1 records. Taguchi and Watto finished with 6 points, as well as Robbie Eagles and Tiger Mask, who were on an undefeated path, but then lost the last 2 nights, kind of knocked them out. And then, like we mentioned, Roppongi 3K and the Bullet Club team, both with 0 wins.
Yeah, we thought that Eagles and Tiger Mask were going to get a win over the Bullet Club's Q's tag team to get a tag title match there, but that's not the case. They beat that team, and it looks like they're holding off maybe on the Eagles ELP rivalry and matchup.
They also, I will say this, that team was very impressive. Eagles always impressive, but since winning the title and returning from Australia and kind of given this new opportunities, really showing out. But like Tiger Mask put in really good work returning from diverticulitis. This is like his best showing since like Super Juniors in like 2019. Remember he went on that like three back-to-back wins that year
in the beginning of the tournament. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, so very impressed with him. Impressed with almost all these teams, honestly. So big story showing break up. They go out with a whimper and then a bang, and yeah, it's sad, especially for those who are big fans. Karen Sensei, probably the biggest like Roppongi 3K fan there is, has to be like heartbroken, but it had to be done.
Yeah, I want to know where does this leave Rocky, because he's still announced as a part of Roppongi 3K when he comes out. So I want to know what
it leaves him where he's always been, back over in the U.S. taking care of all of everything.
He's got to get rid of those 3K jackets now, though.
He's got to sell them all out.
Yeah.
If you go on his Pro Wrestling Tee store, there's still Roppongi Vice shirts on sale. So
hey, well, there was a Roppongi Vice reunion a couple of weeks ago. So,
well, that's gonna do it for those shows. Let's get into the news.
Yeah, so G1 Climax 31 is going to be presented live in English on New Japan World for the whole tour. Every live event in English. Kevin Kelly will be heading over to Japan to do the G1. So I'm guessing maybe that's kind of why they were testing out Matt Morris. So maybe we're going to get Matt Morris and Kozlov as the main team on Strong during those tapings while Kevin Kelly is in Japan calling G1.
Hey, if they need someone to jump on the stick, you got two guys right here willing to travel, willing to do what's needed. Good on Kevin. Thank you for your dedication. That's a long time away in the middle of a pandemic, away from your family and long, crazy hours. And, but it wouldn't be the G1 without Kevin calling it live. So
right. And I think, that's one thing that kind of hurts these shows for the people who only want to listen to English. Waiting a day behind, it's hard to avoid spoilers. And most people end up watching in Japanese. And Kevin Kelly is so great, and I think his work needs to be heard. So glad it's going to be live English and should be a lot of fun for G1 31. Then coming up for the MetLife Dome, we're going to have some special Stardom matches. Of course, there'll be dark matches due to the whole airing and television, TV rights things. But there will be 2 Stardom dark matches for those MetLife Dome shows. Official matches not announced yet. And then last thing here, like I mentioned earlier, Will Ospreay is returning to Rev Pro to defend the undisputed British Heavyweight Championship against Doug Williams. So there's been some heat here. Doug Williams calling Ricky Knight Jr. the true British Heavyweight Champion. So Ospreay coming to face him the same weekend. Ricky Knight Jr. will be defending against Shota Umino.
He's also announced for the next day at the Portsmouth Guild Hall for Rev Pro, taking on Robbie X as well.
So
that both of those have been announced.
Yeah, so Ospreay getting some work back there. In Rev Pro.
How about this? Got a tweet here 2 hours ago, right when we started recording, from Will Ospreay. So we got lads in Strong, Impact, ROH, PWX, CMLL, Rev Pro, OTT, AEW. Who wants them then? ? Ospreay versus the world.
So this man, going to do a world tour of matches.
Well, he apparently has the world IWGP
the
title,
real world title. And, you mentioned CML, ROH. In one of those videos they mentioned, they did mention that they were still partners with both Ring of Honor and CMLL, which I thought was interesting mentioning.
Did they mention Rev Pro in that video? Because I don't think they did.
They did not. Yeah, they mentioned,
which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, they mentioned, our partnerships that we already have with ROH and CMLL, and then our new partnerships with Impact and AEW.
Yeah, but that is going to do it for the news. So let's jump into these questions and finish the show out. So got some good ones here. MJ does PR. He said the last 3 IWGP champions have all been former junior champs. How long does Hiromu have left in the junior division? Will this be his final year? Question mark.
It's a great question. I think the issue with that has just been the state of the junior division. You really don't have a lot of stars in that division right now. Hiromu, it's kind of been the Hiromu show for the last couple of years, and obviously with Shingo and Will kind of being called up in the end of 2019, it left it all for division became Hiromu and friends. So if Hiromu leaves, it's going to be hard, finding that kind of new draw. They really don't have somebody there. Then with restrictions, you don't have a lot of guidance coming in. So it might leave the junior division in a rough spot if Hiromu leaves anytime soon. But, I think he has the star power to be heavyweight. And, he's put on some size over the years. I think, he can have the size to be a heavyweight. I just don't know, when they can do that with him being the main guy in the junior division.
Yeah, and we kind of felt this way about Will Ospreay a year or two before he made the jump, because it kind of was feeling like he had done everything there was to do, but he really hadn't. And I feel the same way about Hiromu. Especially when you consider how many times he's been on the shelf and the amount of time he's taken off, and the prospective matches that are on the table once the pandemic is let up. A lot of those are first-time matches that just really have been put on the back burner because of the pandemic. I think he has a lot more ability to build in this tournament or in this division going forward. It's just the juniors have had to take such a back seat because of everything that's happened.
Right, and also back to that question about the junior tag titles. Also, Hiromu wasn't in the tag league, but Hiromu and Bushi is something you could always do as well.
Yeah, in one of our Facebook groups, a friend of the show, he actually pointed out, he said in the last 10 years, AJ, Omega, Ibushi, Ospreay, and Shingo are all guys that have held the title, but, have been billed as 220 or lower. So all guys that kind of came from like a junior division background as well. So, it's kind of interesting. But I think Hiromu maybe one day will make that jump, but I don't think that there's a need for him to do it just yet. I think there's still some work to do. And I think that if he does make the jump, he should leave it better, kind of the way Will did. Will really built up quite a few people during his time there and then kind of like made that jump,
Right. So next question comes from Dom Homie 101. It says, how do you think...
Oh, wait, one thing. Did you notice that in that whole list, he didn't list NWA?
I did not notice that.
This man doesn't want to go down to Atlanta.
That man's not trying to do, that studio wrestling for Billy Corgan.
Also, he listed AEW at the bottom of his list.
Probably for some heat. He knows fans would get mad about it.
For the heat.
Dom Homie 101 with a series of questions here. First, he asks, how do you think the fallout that is going on with NXT will affect New Japan?
I don't know. I don't worry about it.
What's going to happen is guys are going to keep getting released. People are going to ask us who do we think they should sign. They're going to sign some of those people, and we're going to get some new faces on strong.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of what we discussed earlier, how there's some guys who are kind of getting freelance work amongst all the different kind of companies. And again, that's a positive thing for everybody involved. I don't know if that's, maybe befitting certain guys of a certain level, but, it's interesting. It's really interesting about the guys that have either been that have worked in New Japan before, like Bronson Reed, like
Bobby Fish,
Russ Tyler, or
Alex Zane.
Alex Zane, yeah. So those ones in particular. Bro, Blake Christian's going to get cut next, I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah. I see the writing on the wall for him.
He doesn't have the look. He's young, but he does not have the look that they want at all. He'll probably be gone. Ben Carter's probably next too.
All of NXT UK is probably next.
Oh, bro, the A Kid. Let's get the fucking A Kid.
Let's get the A Kid. Let's get Tyler Bate. Let's get Walter.
non-New Japan questions. Thoughts on this year's lineup of SummerSlam? Will you guys be watching to see the leader of the C Nation attempt to dethrone the tribal chief to become the head of the table? LOL. I don't know much about the rest of the lineup, but because that match is a big match, I was going to watch Pacquiao Spence, but Spence is out, and I don't really care that much about Ugas, I think is who he's fighting. So, yeah, I'm probably going to watch SummerSlam.
Yeah, well, I mean, you invited us over, so I hope we be watching SummerSlam.
Yeah, we're going to have a little shindig here.
We're going to have a Joshua-themed Jeremy birthday party. And also a / going away party for Josh number 2. But yeah, we'll be watching SummerSlam. Honestly, I know some of the matches on the card, but it's whatever. We're probably just going to clown the card the whole time as we watch, so whatever.
Non-wrestling question. Any restaurant recommendations to check out in LA? Did you guys meet any non-wrestling celebrities? No wrestling celebrities. We ate at In-N-Out. We ate at Roscoe's. Those are like kind of staples in, California, LA area. The Parks Barbecue is like the only thing I'd be like, that's a big recommend.
Yes, that was like that was 5 stars. That was a 5-star meal. Definitely do that. In-N-Out, Roscoe's, definitely, like you mentioned, those staples to check out. But yeah, there's a lot of great restaurants. We got so many recommendations that we just didn't have time to go to.
Any predictions for Manny Pacquiao versus your Dennis Ugas? I'm going with the draw. I'll take Manny Pacquiao on points. I don't really know Ugas like that, to be honest with you. And, I've seen Pacquiao lose at this later stage in his career, but he usually wins, and I've heard he had a great camp, so who knows, He was prepping for Errol Spence, so I don't know. We'll see. He also said, what are your thoughts on Manny Pacquiao still being salty over the Floyd Mayweather loss, and does he need to move on? And it's like, yeah, I think both guys had particular, talking points and issues with that match and the officiating and the rules and the hubbub surrounding it. And it's kind of one of those things like, they're probably never going to get over it because it was the defining fight of both their careers. Very similar to, you think about like Tommy Hearns and like, and freaking Sugar Ray Leonard, or like Leonard and Duran, and like, or Leonard and freaking, Marvin Hagler, and like those guys all had like longtime grudges for generations, even after their fights. So, they'll probably never get over it. Thoughts on Bernard Hopkins questioning the legitimacy of Errol Spence Jr.'s eye injury and wanting Spence to show his injury report. In my opinion, I think B-Hop should be questioning his boss about those racist emails that came out years ago instead of worrying about Errol Spence's situation. I don't know. I don't take most of the things Bernard Hopkins says seriously. So I don't really know much about this, but, at the same time, there's a part of me that's like, dang, that's a big fight. And, you're going to pull out. Like, you should maybe I think you should have to prove what ailment you have to constitute, the right to pull out a few weeks before the biggest fight of your life,
Yeah.
I don't think that's unreasonable.
Got a COVID update here from Shingo and Bushi, just posted on New Japan website. As a result of PCR testing conducted across the roster following the August 15th Summer Struggle 2021 event, New Japan Pro Wrestling has learned of 2 positive tests for COVID-19.
No.
Two wrestlers, Shingo Takagi and Bushi, who presented with a fever and missed their match on the day of the August 15th event, were immediately tested in accordance with COVID protocols, with the tests returning positive. Their fevers went down and their conditions are not becoming worse. According to protocols and under medical advice, they are isolating and receiving appropriate treatment. New Japan Pro Wrestling will continue dealing appropriately with the situation following directions given from the Health Care Center. We'll work to further strengthen our COVID-19 countermeasures and run events with infection prevention and safety for all fans, wrestlers, staff, and relevant people as a first priority. New Japan deeply apologizes for the concern caused to fans and personnel asks for your understanding.
Well, let's first things first. That's terrible, but glad to hear that they're doing well and that their conditions seem to be improving. So that's great. Now that we've got that part out of the way, when are these MetLife Dome shows?
September 4th and 5th.
So you're talking about literally 2 weekends from now.
Yeah.
So, obviously health comes first, but that puts those shows in serious jeopardy.
Yeah.
Specifically when it comes to Shingo Takagi and the IWGP World Title.
Yeah, man, this world title, man, it's cursed. We're going to end up in another situation where we have to vacate.
It's cursed. It's cursed. It has nothing to do with the global pandemic. It's cursed.
The title's cursed, man. But yeah, I mean, luckily, yeah, it sounds like, fever's going down. It seems like the symptoms might be going away. I know they isolate for 2 weeks. He might be back just in time for these shows.
Yeah. So, best thoughts and wishes go out to them, and, hope they recover, and we'll keep you posted as we learn more about plans for the MetLife Dome. Hawaiian Punch BV, final questions. He said, thoughts on Pacquiao's new opponent. You are Dennis Ugas. I feel he's a beatable opponent, but 2 years off in your 40s is a long time. Also, I watched the Thurman fight again, and I still scored it for Pacquiao, 115-112, close fight, but Pacquiao's fight. I'll say this. I've never seen your Dennis Ugas. I don't know hardly anything about him. I'll do some research, but, I'll take your word for it. Although I don't know if I should take your word for it because Thurman definitely beat Pacquiao in that fight. But yeah, it was a close fight. So 115-112 is a pretty good. If you were going to judge it for Pacquiao, that's probably the score I think you'd have to go with. Maybe 114-113 is another one somewhere in that range. And then finally, RIP to a real hero in Jamel Hepburn, a.k.a. Real Hero from the Real Hero Archive.
Yeah, R.I.P. to him. Very young guy. Very sad to hear about his passing. A guy that's been very influential in, helping, the Western fan base watch Pure Resu and, getting videos, not charging anything. Just working so hard to get people access to Japanese footage before all the streaming services were around.
Yeah, I've never met Jamel. I've never interacted with him. But, across the board, if you've watched Japanese wrestling on Daily Motion, on YouTube, or any of his drives, or the Real Hero Archive drive, or any, sharing website, very high likelihood that he had a hand in providing that material to you. This is a really big loss. A lot of people that did know him have nothing but great things to say about him. I do know Real Hero Eric, who I believe also helped with the archive as well.
Yeah.
But I've never interacted with Jamel. Many people from our website and from our network have had very positive things to say. And I think some people that knew him knew that there were like health issues and things like that. And I've gone through his Twitter, and there might be some allusions to that, but still very young, very unexpected, and it's a big loss. There's certain members of the wrestling community, that have contributed a lot, and Jamel's one of them. You think about like Larry Kazanka and some of these guys and girls, when they pass away. I think of Casey from
Squared Circle Sirens.
From Squared Circle Sirens, and it's like there have been not just that, but like some of the deaths that have occurred in wrestling just recently, just in the industry, and then a lot of these fans, very unfortunate. And rest in peace to him. Best wishes and thoughts to his family. It's very unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, last thing to close the show off here, recommended match of the week. So last week, our guest, Chris Samsa, recommended that we watch Hangman Page versus Switchblade Jay White from Strong Style Evolved. And watch this matchup. What do you think about this matchup, Josh?
So this one was super interesting because, it was at a time when interest in the U.S. was at probably an all-time high for the product. But then at the same time, Jay White had literally just won the U.S. belt from Kenny Omega. He was coming off of a very lackluster received match in the Dome against Tanahashi. And then, the match with Kenny Omega was kind of like overshadowed by the Bullet Club angle that kind of followed it. And Hangman Page was nowhere near the level of star that he is. Both guys were kind of in their formidable, developmental kind of phases of their career with New Japan at the time. And the match is, I'll say this, I think from an in-ring perspective, the match is very good. But I don't think either guy had really worked at this sort of level for a prolonged period of time just yet. So there's certain things that like both of them do in their matches now from like a pacing, timing standpoint, working the crowd standpoint, where they're not doing that in this match. It's a lot of moves, but they're missing a lot of the in-between small stuff that both of them are masters of now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it really showed because the crowd never truly gets behind this match. I think part of it is because, again, they're in that like early phase where they haven't established themselves yet. But I think also they didn't do a good enough job getting the crowd to really invest in the story they're telling. In a certain sense, you know what it reminded me of? Reminded me a lot of dojo matches. Everything they're doing is good, but they're working at a level that's maybe higher than where they deserve to be. And I don't mean to say that in the wrong way because, I mean, they're clearly both very talented. They're pulling out the big stops. I mean, Hangman Page is like killing himself in this match. And
yeah, there was a lot of crazy bumps that he took. That German on the apron. We talked off the air. I forgot about that spot. That was nuts. I think it was like one of the first times we saw like the Saito over the top rope spot from Jay White, and Heyman took a nasty bump on that. He took a Saito on the outside.
They did some really cool stuff, but I think their inexperience coupled with maybe the crowd not having a deep investment in the story or the characters detracted from the atmosphere. At the same time, I'd still probably go like 3 3/4, 4 stars on this match. I think it is a little bit underrated, but I was surprised that on the rewatch, sometimes you rewatch something and it seems better, but this didn't. This just kind of held exactly where I saw it the first time I watched it.
Yeah, and I think it was one of the situations you pointed out with like the Fredericks and Coughlin where they were getting kind of little reception at first and had to work really hard to get reactions. Also, they were doing a lot of big spots. Hangman, did the moonsault to the outside. They were doing a lot of kind of big moves to get some pops. And so, but I feel like by the end of the match, there was dueling, let's go Hangman, let's go White chants.
Well, in my experience, my limited experience with wrestling, but just observing guys that are even at a higher level than me, putting a match together, there's different ways to do it, and then there's different levels of it, and when you're talking about main event, big show level wrestling, I mean, with the amount of time they have a lot of time to fill, and I don't know that I think they're definitely at the level just beneath it where they could definitely have a really good like mid-card match, but I don't think they're ready to have like a main event match just yet. But at the same time, New Japan was willing to trust them and take a chance on them, and I feel like they at least delivered on what was asked of them. They didn't over-deliver, but I think they met the expectations. They had a very good match, and like we talked about last week, this is a really interesting match because now, if these two guys were to meet, people would be all over it. It'd be a huge deal, and this was kind of like a crossroads match for both guys at the time.
Yeah, and I thought this was a perfect match, in hindsight for Chris to pick, with both these guys being huge stars now and with the post-match angle of Dave Finlay coming out to challenge Jay White for the U.S. title. And also
I forgot that ever happened.
Yeah.
I forgot about it. And then
got a similar reaction.
To see the crowd's react, it was actually in some ways worse. There's like these two smarky New Japan fans front row right in the camera, and the whole time he's cutting a promo, they're just like, no, yeah, they're
down.
But that promo was really kind of heelish, and that's one thing I've noticed. I kind of think that Finlay might be a more naturally suited heel, and I've never heard anyone else say that. But like a lot of the stuff he does is kind of cocky and arrogant and kind of off-putting.
Yeah,
and I feel like maybe he should just be a heel.
And that could be the key to solve, kind of what's been missing with him. And so, yeah.
Because he's so talented, man.
Yeah, he's very talented.
Oh, but when you compare his physique back then to his physique now, it's night and day. Like,
yeah,
he's in so
way
much better shape
now.
So very, very interesting pick. So let's go close out my recommended match of the week. I really liked the Ishii match this past week, but it wasn't quite the exact story that I love from Ishii. My whole thing is I like when Ishii goes out there and has a fucking war and smashes and just has those violent, never style matches. And I even though that match that he had in LA was very good, it wasn't quite that. So I was like, you know what? Let's match him up with somebody from the past where we can see that kind of war. And when I was thinking about it, there's another match that just happened over in the green mats of Noah. Sugiura and Tanaka just had a banger in Noah that everyone's raving about. Super violent, never style match. I haven't seen it yet. Plan to check it out. So my recommendation is a match that's not talked about that much, but deserves to be. It is Masato Tanaka versus Tomohiro Ishii for the never open weight title from February 3rd, 2013, New Japan Road to New Beginning. So this is a Road to main event. And Dave never rated it. It does have a 9.18 on Cage Match. And I can tell you this. This might be the most violent Tomohiro Ishii match of all time.
Man, I don't think I've seen this match. I love Masato Tanaka, and so I'm definitely looking forward to checking this one out.
Listen, this dude Ishii bleeds from his forehead, he bleeds from his mouth, and he bleeds from his hands, and his eyes get swollen shut, and I'm pretty sure he broke a bone in his face. That's how violent this match is.
Man, sounds like a strong style fight of the year.
Yeah, so that's going to be my recommendation. This is available on New Japan World, and I think it's going to over-deliver. So
nice. Well, that is going to wrap things up for this week's show. Next week, we'll be back to preview or review whatever is coming up with the Summer Struggle tour in Japan, as well as what's going on New Japan Strong. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keepin It Strong Style logo. Make sure you connect with us on social media. On Twitter, the show is at KI Strong Style. The network is at Social Suplex. You can follow me at Jeremy L. Donovan. On Facebook, we are facebook.com/Social Suplex. You can also find us in the Wrestling Squared Circle, facebook.com/group/Wrestling Squared Circle. On Instagram, we're at Social Suplex. On Reddit, I am the Pro Black Guy. Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, Jeremy, at socialsuplex.com. Check out all the other shows that we have here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We have One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. We have the Grave Consequences podcast with Caleb and Maserati. 8-Bit Suplex with Josh, number 2. All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin, and the Great Match Generator with Danny. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review, and we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Leave my man Jeremy Donovan a happy birthday wish. Send him some kudos. Leave a rating or review. Do something for this man. He puts in the work because he is Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.
Headlines and hot takes, they have their place. But at our podcast, ESPN Daily, we don't just skim the surface of sports. Dude, I mean, this clearly transcends blood feuds, rivalries, sports. This is something far, far deeper than that. I'm your host, Pablo Torre, and every day, we try to dive into the stories behind the athletes.
The picture of him in the dugout afterwards just looked like a guy who'd had his heart ripped out.
Listen to ESPN Daily wherever you get your podcasts.
Summer happens at Speedway because everything you need for summer happens at Speedway. Like drinks. Drinks happen. The freshly brewed drink, the splashed over ice drink, the wake you up drink, the cool you off drink, the make your brain hurt for a minute drink. All poured however you want them, whenever you want them, all summer long. So on every hot day, you have something cold to sip. Speedway, summer happens here. And now, get any size fountain or Speedy Freeze for just 99 cents. Excludes maximum.